Chapter 223, The Chasm Battlefield. Chapter 223, The Chasm Battlefield. In an abandoned ancient wasteland with grey sky, no sun and moon, and barren natural auras. The gate of heaven was floating on a flat-like mirrored mountain summit. Shi Yang was standing on that summit. As he looked around, he found that this entire world was covered with a layer of grey clouds. His spirit power was blocked by those grey clouds, and it was very difficult even to see several kilometers. When looking far ahead, there were many huge, unimaginably deep, swarthy pits. The river were dried up and there weren't any life signs, which made this place look like a dead land, and gave a very dull feeling. So this is the chasm battlefield, Li Feng'er gently sighed. There is no sense of direction here, no sun, moon, and stars, barren natural auras. This place really is not suitable for cultivation for a warrior. In the ancient time, this place was a battlefield. Many powerful ancient warriors were here. Those ancient warriors left many secret treasures and magical martial skills in this chasm battlefield, but it is extremely difficult to get those treasures. From the time when the chasm battlefield appeared, a lot of endless sea warriors were buried in it. Many warriors who came here in search of those treasures, 9 out of 10 can't get out alive from here. This time, our journey to this chasm battlefield isn't to find those treasure, but to live. Yang Mu frowned, looked dignified. I have been here before, so I can take you guys to a safer area. Look at that direction. The grey clouds are very thick there. There is an old palace in there. Inside the palace, there are many restrictions and barriers that have become invalid, so we can stay in there for some time. Li Feng'er pointed to a direction, gently said, "Follow me, at least there is no danger before we arrive at that area." Yang Mu nodded. "Yes, Feng'er, you lead the way. We will leave mark on the way, so that those people who want to kill us know our direction." "No problem." Li Feng'er chuckled and glanced at Shi Yang, said, "Shi Yang, inside here, you have, to be honest. Remember to hear Uncle Jiang words. Uncle Jiang have a great understanding of barriers and restrictions and know some array method, so you can avoid a lot of danger." Shi Yang looks indifferent and slowly nodded. "Xiao Yanzi, here is a magic ring. There is food and water inside it and also a bottle of restoration pills, which can help you quickly restore profound chi." Yang Mu handed over a green ring inside the chasm battlefield. It is difficult to find food and water. The natural auras inside here are also very barren. Once the profound chi loss is too huge, it will be very difficult to restore. There are 100 restoration pills inside. With the restoration pills you can quickly recover after a fight. Shi Yang received the magic ring, and when he looked at it, he immediately found that inside the ring there is a dimension as big as a house. Inside it, there are many food and water, and a white bottle was placed on the food, which probably contained the restoration pills. The magic ring can store items, and this ring is worth 1,000 best quality crystals in the endless sea. Only royalty rank blacksmiths can refine this item, so don't lose it. Yang Mu smiled. Shi Yang nodded. "And also, keep this sound stone. The usage is very simple. You just need to inject your profound chi into it, then speak into it, then we can hear what you want to speak about from the sound stone." Yang Mu continued to explain. Inside the chasm battlefield, there are many strange restrictions. If we are careless, we may be separated. With this sound stone, even if we aren't in the same area, we still can communicate. Yes, as he grasped the stone and inject profound chi into it, the sound stone immediately shone with white light. Seems like there is a sound coming from the sound holes in the sound stone. "Shi Yang is a pervert." A clear and melodious sound suddenly came from the sound stone. This voice was clearly from Li Feng'er, who was in the front, and which made Shi Yang surprised. "Hey, it's interesting, right?" Li Feng'er, who has been 100 meters in the front, smiled back, and she also held a sound stone and waved highly toward Shi Yang. Shi Yang shook his head, lightly said, "Next time, don't be so loud. I'm very timid and afraid of being scared by you. Let's go, we will follow Feng'er, so before we arrive at that palace, we should be safe." Yang Mu smiled and thought for a moment, then he used his hand to leave a line on a mark. "We went this way, come if you dare." "Yang Mu." Shi Yang looked at that line of words and didn't say anything, but in his heart, he really looked forward that Jiyu Linglong and the others can chase over. He faintly felt that he only need an epiphany before he can enter the Earth realm. In his view, Jiyu Linglong, Panja, and the others were the natural elixir in this chasm battlefield, and also a whetstone to sharpen himself. Through these people, maybe he would be able to gain an insight and enter in the Earth realm. He, who is combative, definitely won't fear the chase from Jiyu Linglong and the others. Instead, he's secretly excited. Li Feng'er took the lead and led the warrior team from the summit, heading toward the direction where the grey clouds were very thick. Yang Mu, Yang Ku, and Yang Shui followed, and Shi Yang, who was at the last, constantly analyzed the situation. Soon, the group came down from the summit and looked back at the gate of heaven that was in the summit. Shi Yang suddenly said, "Do we need to come back here if we want to go back?" "Yes, the gate of heaven in here is very bright, so we can see the gate of heaven from far away. In the chasm battlefield, there isn't any sun, moon, and stars, so the light from this gate of heaven is the light that leads the way. Normally, we can see this light inside the 100 li radius. If we remember the direction, then it isn't too difficult." Li Feng'er stopped and explained to the crowd. Shi Yang nodded and no longer said anything. Quietly followed behind Li Feng'er, he silently went into the blood vein ring and shows a friendly and gentle feeling toward the 10,000 years core fire to maintain the friendly relationship between him and the core fire. At the war with Jiyu Linglong, if the core fire hadn't suddenly released its firepower, then he wouldn't be able to get rid of the 7 swords that invaded his body. The help from the core fire at the critical moment really made him very grateful, and thus his feeling to core fire greatly increased. Inside the blood vein ring, after converging with the core fire, Shi Yang immediately felt a feeling of joy from the core fire. Aware of Shi Yang's arrival, the core fire was very happy. It used its consciousness to wrap Shi Yang's thought and entangled with it inside the light, like a child fawning on their parent. A surging soul force came out from the light. Shi Yang clearly felt that the core fire soul seems to be changing, become more and more intelligent and powerful. As if, not long in the future, its evolution will be complete, and it can possess a complete soul of sky fire. The evolution of the core fire was already in the final step. As long as his life form formed, then the core fire already can be called as a sky fire, having more powerful divine ability and becoming more intelligent. After converging with the core fire for a while, Shi Yang drew back his consciousness and talked to the ice-cold flame. "I have arrived in the chasm battlefield." "The chasm battlefield?" The ice-cold flame immediately replied, "What are you doing here? This is a very dangerous place. With your current cultivation, you will only die in this chasm battlefield. Inside the chasm battlefield, the natural auras are very barren and also don't suit your cultivation, so why did you come here? How much do you know about the chasm battlefield?" "Not really," the ice-cold flame think for some time. "I haven't been here before, so I didn't understand the chasm battlefield, but I got some memories from the guy who has come to the chasm battlefield, and even into the depths of the chasm battlefield. He had the cultivation of spirit realm, and was trapped in a restriction for 300 years, almost dying there. After he got out from the restriction, he immediately left the chasm battlefield and wasn't able to gain anything from here, so I know very little about this place." "Okay, I got it." Shi Yang nodded. "Pay some attention, maybe there is another sky fire in here. If you feel its presence, remember to tell me immediately." "Another sky fire," the ice-cold flame slightly excited. "My kind, interesting. It has been some time since I met my own kind. Hope that I can meet with it here. Do you want to run into it?" "Of course, maybe its element is the same as me, and we can evolve together." But there is also a possibility where it want to devour me. Between the sky fire, most of us can devour each other. Once the devouring finishes, the victor will gain more power and become more intelligent. Your strength is being limited by the blood vein ring, so if you run into another sky fire, you definitely will suffer. Yeah, but if it dares to come into the blood vein ring, maybe it also will be captured by the blood vein ring. Your ring is very mysterious, it even can shackle life forms like us, it can bind me, so probably it's the same with another sky fire. Shi Yang became startled. The gate of heaven in the chasm battlefield flashed. Pan Zhe, Cao Jilan, Jiyu Linglong, Xie Kuei, and hundreds of Earth-realm warriors came out from the gate of heaven one by one. Looked up at the grey sky. Pan Zhe, looking serious, lightly shouted, "Finally, we are here. We went this way, come if you dare." Yang Mu Xie Kuei looked sullen, read out the words on the ground and sneered, "Looks like they are seeking death. They even dared to take the initiative to leave traces. The Yang family is really arrogant." Great Jiyu Linglong bite her teeth. "Looks like we don't have to search for them now. The demon beasts can't enter the chasm battlefield. This time I want to see how the Yang family can escape. Don't need to be afraid of Yang Mu and the others, as long as we can catch up, then they definitely can't escape. Panja frowned, reminding everyone. But inside the chasm battlefield, there are many dangerous restrictions, so you guys need to be more careful, don't die inside the restriction. As long as you guys follow me, I can guarantee your safety. Cao Jilan smiled indifferently. My martial spirit has the greatest advantage in this chasm battlefield. Any restriction, barrier, or array needs the power to support it, so I can find out the exact location of danger and can ensure that you guys will not fall into it. After she said that, everyone looked delighted. Chapter 224, Meteor Array. Chapter 224. Meteor Array. Sponsored by Jenilyn Badiola, Sai Parkalapati, and K. Eisenman. The 9 broken palaces, held by stone pillars, stood in a field of white bones. Each palace was like a small mountain. There were already many pillars broken among those 9 palaces. 3 of them didn't even had any stone pillars for support. It appeared that they will collapse at any time. Damn, there must be a lot of people who came here before. These bones are very clean, even their clothes are stripped with nothing left. Yang Ku shook his head and complained loudly as he walked around inside one of the palaces, and didn't find anything from those bones. After Shi Yang came, even he didn't move. He already knew that there wasn't any treasure here. Of course, I already told you guys that you won't get anything in here. Li Feng'er frowned. The restrictions and barriers inside the palaces have already disappeared. If we can enter it, of course, the others can too. How could there be something left for you? The last time I came here, I'd also carefully checked, but still couldn't find anything. If you can find something, that would be very strange. Yeah, it's very safe in here, so there must be nothing here. Yang Mu nodded, searched for a while and said, I think Panja and the others will arrive soon. This place is quite wide, so it's pretty good to fight. Yeah, the problem is we don't know how many people they have with them. If there are too many and they came all together, then it will be very difficult to kill them. Let's make our retreat path first. Yang Shui hesitated for a bit. If they are too many and we are in a disadvantageous situation, then we need to withdraw immediately from here, then we will find another chance to fight them. Anyway, this chasm battlefield is very deep and also we need to stay here for 3 years so we don't really have to fight with them. These 9 palaces are also a magical array, but this array is already damaged and didn't function properly. Jiang Huchuan pondered for a moment, said, it's easy to pass through these 9 palaces. The grey clouds over there are very thick, and they have a very unusual energy flow. I believe that there is some restriction in there, but we need to pass from there if we want to retreat, so the area that is dangerous for us is also a threat for them too. Shi Yang looked at the area where the grey clouds were very thick. When he released his consciousness, he couldn't find any signs of life but can feel a very strange energy flow in there. As if the restriction has already been operating, waiting for someone to fall into it. Let's make sure of our retreat path first. Yang Mu nodded towards Jiang Huchuan. Yeah, I will take a look first. Jiang Huchuan headed towards that direction alone. After looking at the area of the grey clouds, he hesitated for a while, then said toward Yang Mu, you guys don't come in first. I will take a look first to ensure there is no danger there. After that, I will call you. After saying that, Jiang Huchuan entered into the depth. After he stepped into it, his figure immediately disappeared. As if he stepped into another world, even his presence also disappeared. Shi Yang's face slightly changed. After he quietly used his consciousness to look, he found that there was no sign of life from Jiang Huchuan. Secretly frightened, Shi Yang realized that this chasm battlefield was really strange and he immediately became cautious. After some time, Jiang Huquang came out miserably, with his body full of dust and messy hair. He seemed to have experienced a disaster. How is it? Yang Mu quickly asked. Meteor array. The moment I entered, suddenly there were huge meteorites falling over. Those meteorites were very dense and big, and the impact from the meteorites is also very huge. If we want to pass through, we must face the attack from those meteorites. If we are careless, we will be smashed by those meteorites. Jiang Huchuan looked grimly. Is there any way to break it? Li Feng'er asked. I haven't found it yet. I need to recover first, then I will enter again to find it. Jiang Huchuan shook his head, quietly sat down and ate 3 restoration pills. This place is really dangerous. Looks like it really isn't easy to survive in this chasm battlefield. Yang Ku exclaimed. Yeah, in this chasm battlefield, there are countless restrictions and barriers. It is more difficult to deal than our pursuers. Yang Mu also looked grimly. After Jiang Huchuan recovered for a while, he stood up and entered again. After some time, he came out miserably again, but this time there was a trace of blood came out from his mouth. It seemed like he had been hit by those meteorites. After coming out, Jiang Huchuan didn't speak anything and once again took the restoration pills and continued to recover. Shi Yang and the others didn't say anything, just quietly watched Jiang Huchuan. After entering 2 times, Jiang Huchuan became more and more miserable. He who understood arrays very well became like this. Then if there was someone who didn't understand array and entered recklessly, then it definitely would be difficult to come out alive from there. The meteor array was one of the arrays that they encountered inside the chasm battlefield, and Jiang Huchuan, who had the cultivation of Earth realm and a deep knowledge toward arrays, became so miserable. Then did they still need to pass through from there? Looks like this chasm battlefield isn't so easy to stay. Young Mu slightly sighed. I have always heard the strange rumors about it before, but I didn't believe some of it, and felt that those rumors may exaggerate the dangerous at the chasm battlefield. But now I know that those rumors were true. If I didn't experience it myself, I really can't imagine it. Well, Shi Yang smiled, lightly said, the more dangerous this place is, then it will be more advantage to us. Even we will die, then those people will also face the same problem as us. I think, their overall strength should be stronger than us, which also mean, at here, they will suffer greater losses. Yeah, that's why we are here. Yang Shui nodded, because this place is really dangerous. It will be very difficult to deal with us. As they were speaking, Jiang Huchuan opened his eyes. Uncle Jiang, how is it? Yang Ku quickly asked. Shaking his head, Jiang Huchuan looked grim. I saw a eye controlling the array, but there are many ancient letters on it. Even I didn't recognize those ancient letters. If I didn't understand the meaning of those letters, then it will be very difficult for me to find a way to break it. Ancient letters? Shi Yang was surprised for a moment. Then immediately he asked, what kind of ancient text? It should be cuneiform letters from the ancient time, primary used on arrays and restrictions. Only array master from the ancient times understood these ancient letters. In our time now, there is almost no one who has knowledge about these ancient letters. Jiang Huchuan sighed, even my teacher can't recognize these ancient letters, and I'm even worse. Then what should we do? Yang Ku was stunned. If we couldn't understand those ancient texts, then we will never be able to break this array, right? Before I understand the meaning of those ancient letters, I definitely won't act recklessly, otherwise, it will be more dangerous. Jiang Huchuan nodded helplessly. Can you write down the ancient letters that you saw? Shi Yang suddenly said. Everyone was surprised and looked strangely at Shi Yang. They didn't know why he suddenly said that. Xiao Yanzi, what do you want to do? Yang Mu was stunned. He asked, could it be that you understand letters from ancient time? Only some, but I don't know if those ancient letters are the one that I know. Shi Yang nodded. What? You really know it? Li Feng'er immediately shook her head as she couldn't believe it. You are not kidding, right? Even Uncle Jiang's teacher couldn't recognize all of it. Do you really know it? Uncle Jiang, just write them down for me, Shi Yang insisted. Jiang Huchuan was also confused. He pondered for a moment, and said, there are only a few letters that I saw on the array's eye, so I still remembered them. I just don't know what it means. If you want to see, I will show it to you. Jiang Huquang crouched, held a dagger and depicted 6 strange letters. Arrival, rest, fire, wind, life, death. Shi Yang pointed at the ancient letters on the ground, and read it word by word. That is all. Fortunately, I recognize all of it. Everyone was stunned. You aren't talking nonsense, right? Li Feng'er exclaimed. Yang Mu, Yang Ku, and the others also showed an expression of disbelief. Their eyes were odd and they doubted if Shi Yang really recognized those letters or not. Master Yang, is it really these letters? Jiang Huchuan looked startled, suddenly stood up and his eyes flashed. I can't be wrong. Shi Yang nodded. Before I was 17 years old, I had a great interest towards ancient text, and fortunately I recognized those letters, so I can be certain that it is these 6 letters. I will enter again. Jiang Huchuan pondered for a moment, suddenly said, this time I will try moving the array eyes. If the message that Master Yang gave to me is right, then I think I can break this array, but, if the message is wrong, I think I won't come back again. Jiang Huchuan looked at Shi Yang deeply, seemed like he was waiting for something. Everyone's face changed as they heard the meaning from Jiang Huchuan words and looked at Shi Yang again. I definitely am not wrong. Under the looks from everyone, Shi Yang calmly replied, Don't worry Uncle Jiang, I won't harm you, these 6 letters absolutely aren't wrong. All right. Jiang Huchuan replied. He no longer hesitated and entered into the restriction again. Xiao Yanzi Yang Mu lightly said, it seemed like he wanted to say something, but eventually he shook his head, smiled wryly, and didn't said the following words. I know what you guys are worried about. Shi Yang looked indifferent and grinned. Brother, did you see me as a man who acts recklessly? Yang Mu immediately shook his head. That's right, rest assured, Uncle Jiang definitely will be okay. Shi Yang comforted them. There is someone coming, pretty quick though, Li Feng'er shouted, don't know when. She already stood on a broken stone pillar and looked at far away. Her face gradually changed. Pan Zhe, Jiu Linglong, Cao Zhilan, Xiekue, He Qingman. Xiekue, He Qingman. Yang Mu eyes suddenly became cold. He sneered, the evil wonderland is really audacious to deal with us, Yang family. At this time they really have no scruples. He Qingman also came. Yang Shui's eyes became cold and he angrily said, I can't believe she is also involved in this. I know that the relationship between you and her is quite good. Yang Mu sighed, but at this time, no matter how good the relationship is, it is the same. If this girl is only pretending, then we don't need to fight with her, but if she really want to kill us, don't give her mercy. I know what to do. Yang Mu took a deep breath and nodded. Translated by Wei Yi. Chapter 225 Ambush. Chapter 225 Ambush. Inside the broken palace, Shi Yang and Yang Mu's group were quietly waiting for something with serious faces. This time, the time that Jiang Huchuan spent inside the meteor array was longer than before. While Pan Zhen, Cao Zhilan, and the others have been approaching closer and closer, everyone was quite anxious because their retreat path hasn't been confirmed. Yang Ku with his knitted eyebrows kept walking around, regularly looking at the thick grey clouds area where Jiang Huchuan had entered. Li Feng'er stood on the broken pillar. Her body was slender and soft, her eyelashes were long and prominent on her face. She slightly shouted, nearly 100 Earthrealm warriors, this force isn't just double stronger than us. Cao Zhilan and Xiekue have also joined this time, as well as He Qingman, those are tough characters. It looks like we got some troubles. Cao Zhilan. Yang Mu's face looked heavy. This woman was the high-class warrior from the young generation of the Cao family. Rumor said that she has an extraordinary strength, ranked 3rd in the combat list, 1 rank higher than me. I haven't fought with her yet, so I didn't know how her real ability is. However, since she was ranked 3rd, her ability mustn't be weak. Yang Mu thought for a moment and then suddenly said, if the situation turns bad, regardless of whether Uncle Jiang has come out or not, we must enter that meteor array. Yang Shui's beautiful face slightly changed. She couldn't help but exclaim, if that meteor array isn't broken yet, I'm afraid we will suffer a great loss if we enter it. You guys also have seen that even Uncle Jiang, who has a deep knowledge of array, was stuck in there. If we enter there, we definitely will be worse than Uncle Jiang. Li Feng'er, Yang Ku, and the others also looked somber. They all looked at Yang Mu. The meteor array is dangerous for us, but it is also the barrier that deters Pan Zhe and Cao Zhilan. They are more than us, so if they keep chasing us, their loss will be certainly bigger than ours. Yang Mu said calmly. So, regardless of whether Uncle Jiang can come out or not, we still need to enter it. Shi Yang, Yang Shui's face was confused. Do you think Uncle Jiang will be fine? Of course, Shi Yang shook his head. If Uncle Jiang understands that meteor array, he definitely can break it. I believe the message that I have given him is correct. Gently nodding her head, Yang Shui, still dubious, sadly said, I hope so. It was not that she didn't believe in Shi Yang, but this time, Jiang Huchuan had entered for a long time and still hadn't come out yet. In their mind, Jiang Huchuan could have probably encountered some danger. They subconsciously thought that Jiang Huchuan had died inside the meteor array. Even Yang Mu had said that once the situation got bad, regardless of whether Jiang Huchuan came out or not, they still needed to enter the meteor array. It proved that he didn't have too much confidence. They will arrive here soon. Li Feng'er raised her head looking up for a while. I think we should prepare first. By using the terrain here, we can ambush them, and maybe we can kill some of them. Li Feng'er gritted her teeth, her eyes shot out a cold beam of light. She looked like she was ready to fight. Shi Yang secretly nodded and then quietly urged the power inside his body to form gravitational field without saying anything. Yang Mu, Yang Ku, Yang Shui began to command the other warriors to split up and temporarily hid inside the palaces. As soon as the enemies arrived, they would signal their warriors to take action. Master Yang, what should we do? Ka Ma asked respectfully. Ka Ma was in the third sky of the Earth realm and belonged to Shi Yang's team. His cultivation base was the highest. He was 2 meters tall with a sturdy body. His strength was very superior because had trained the Shura blood guard of Shura King Li Mu. You guys hide inside the palaces first. Don't need to prepare anything, just seize the opportunity to kill the enemies when facing them. Shi Yang's face became solemn. Just focus, you only have fleeting chances. I will give you guys the opportunity to kill them in one blow, so you guys must seize that chance. Understood, Master Yang. Ka Ma's face was convulsive. Previously, in the battle on the Silver Horn ships, Ka Ma had seen Shi Yang's miraculous ability. He knew that Shi Yang could quietly release mysterious martial technique that could affect the entire battle and also could constrain the enemy's movements so that the others have the chance to kill the enemies. Therefore, although Shi Yang only had the cultivation of the disaster realm, Ka Ma and the others still had little respect for him and didn't look down on him. Oh! Shi Yang slightly shouted and looked toward the thick grey clouds area. His soul consciousness sensed some anomalies from there. In the area that Jiang Huchuan had entered before, the energy flow was very chaotic at the beginning, but it seemed to become restful all of a sudden. The energy inside seemed to turn into a long river, slowly flowing in a special current as if someone had repaired the mess inside the energy, restoring their order. Jiang Huchuan. Shi Yang's mind was slightly agitated. He immediately realized that Jiang Huchuan had probably succeeded in breaking the meteor array and changing the energy flow inside the meteor array. Uncle Jiang is going to come back. Shi Yang revealed a faint smile and slightly shouted. What? Li Feng'er was still standing above him, looking at Shi Yang. Below you. Are you a prophet now? Shi Yang smiled and shook his head, looking up toward Li Feng'er and said, I am not a prophet, but I can vaguely sense his presence. I have a magical treasure that can help my spirit insight become sensitive. Little Yang, Uncle Jiang has succeeded. Yang Mu overjoyed, the enemies will come here soon. If Uncle Jiang has succeeded, we will have a greater advantage. Yeah, he will come out soon. Shi Yang nodded. As soon as he had finished his word, a body covered with dust suddenly ran out. Jiang Huchuan's face was full of dust, but he was very energetic. He excitedly looked toward Shi Yang and happily said, the message that Master Yang has given me is indeed true. Thanks to Master Yang's knowledge of the ancient text, I could break the meteor array. Yang Ku, Li Feng'er, Yang Shui and the others were very surprised when they heard Jiang Huchuan's words. They all looked at Shi Yang with a meaningful look in their eyes. Ka Ma and the other warriors who had been assigned to Shi Yang's team was very excited and had more confidence in Shi Yang now. After we enter into the meteor array, remember to take 7 steps on the left path first and then take 5 steps on the right path, and then take the left path and repeat the steps again. Remember, 7 steps to the left, 5 steps to the right. Don't forget it. If you follow this, the meteorite will not hit you guys. Jiang Huchuan grinned, if the enemies dare to enter it, I believe that they won't be able to figure this out and definitely will suffer a great loss. That's the best. Yang Mu laughed comfortably. Let's prepare first. We will ambush them and kill some of them first. If the situation changes, we will immediately retreat into the meteor array. This time we are lucky to have Uncle Jing's and Little Yang's help, otherwise, we undoubtedly will face a big problem. Ha ha ha. Now, we have the advantage, and we should make those pursuers taste the defeat. Those are 9 broken palaces. Pan just stopped all of a sudden. He stood on a solid stone, looking at the distance. I have gone through those 9 palaces over there before. All of the ancient arrays inside there have been broken, so there is no danger. However, behind the 9 palaces, there are still many forbiddances and barriers, so it all depends on luck when we want to pass through it. Those Yang's people maybe have left from there. Jiyu Linglong frowned. I don't know. Pan Zhe shook his head. Just be careful. There are many hiding places inside those 9 palaces. If the Yang's people stay hidden there, it will be tough for us. Even we have more people, we still can't let our guard down. Remember, don't act recklessly. The grey clouds behind the 9 palaces are very thick, thus, our sight dropped greatly, and many forbiddances blocked our spirit power as well. Over there was the real chasm battlefield. Yang's people are inside the palaces. Cao Jilan dashed forward, passing Pan Zhe like a feather drifting forward. Her slender body was swaying and swinging as if it was weightless, giving people a strange feeling. Follow up, just be careful. Shiyang that you guys have mentioned has formed strange confining vortexes inside the palaces. Those vortexes also keep shaking. Yeah, you guys will tell me who is Shiyang later. I will deal with him first to prevent him from playing tricks with you and creating a chance for the young people to kill you guys. Cao Jilan was like a floating feather, her body moved in the air randomly, leaping up from the ground from time to time, which made her movement turn into a blurred shadow that seems very slow, but in fact, it was dashing incredibly fast toward the palace. Miss Cao, your spirit god martial spirit can detect any energy flow and also know that energy's movement rule, and thus, it enables you to find a way to deal with it. This spirit god martial spirit is a sacred rank martial spirit. It can even sense the tiny weakness of the opponent's martial technique. It is genuinely magical. So, just follow her words. The saintess from the Heaven Lake Divine Land, Chu Yangqing, displayed a strange emotion in her beautiful eyes as she explained Cao Jilan's miraculous martial spirit. Cao Jilan's martial spirit was very mysterious. Many warriors from the Endless Sea have heard about this, however, only a few people knew the magical effect and the strength of her martial spirit. Chu Yangqing was one of the few of them. Pan Zhe, Xie Kuei, Jiyu Linglong eyes were shining after hearing Chu Yangqing's words. Cao Jilan's spirit god martial spirit can detect any energy flow and even can know the movement rule from that energy. This means that the forbiddances and barriers inside the chasm battlefield couldn't escape from the martial spirit's detection. She could even find the way to break those obstacles. Inside the chasm battlefield, Cao Jilan's spirit god martial spirit was apparently very useful. It could help them significantly reduce their loss. Don't hide anymore. Just come out and fight with us. Outside the palace, Cao Jilan calmly walked inside with a smile on her face. Her slender body could easily avoid 3 moving gravitational fields. She shook her head and revealed a smile. Yeah, these active traps are very magical. No wonder why Pan Zhe and the others had to suffer a great loss. Shiyang, right? You have surprised me by making those traps. Can you show up please? Shiyang was hiding behind a stone pillar, his face slightly changed. He coldly harumphed and walked out step by step with a dark face. He appeared from the stone pillar where he had been hiding. Watching this beautiful woman who breaks his gravitational field and hearing her praise made him become focused and cautious without daring to let down his guard even a bit. He could feel that he was the target of this woman. Chapter 226, You guys go first. Chapter 226, You guys go first. Cao Jilan quietly stood outside of the palace. She didn't rush to enter, but instead she smilingly looked towards Shiyang who poked his head out from behind the stone pillar. The look in her eyes was somewhat shady. Pan Zhe and the rest saw that Cao Jilan was already here. They didn't dare to delay, and all sped up their pace, quickly appearing behind her. Almost 100 Earthrealm warriors, lined up neatly, and stood behind Pan Zhe, Jiyu Linglong, Xie Kuei, and Chu Yangqing. They coldly watched the rubbled palaces, as if waiting for something. Did they hide because they want to make a sneak attack? Cao Jilan chuckled and shook her head, her thin hand slightly raised up, and beams of blue light flew out of her 5 delicate fingers, attacking the Yang family warriors that hid inside the rubbled palace. Yang Mu and the rest that hid in the dark seemed surprised. Under the attack of the bright blue lights, they had to move out of their hiding spots, and all revealed their whereabouts. Shiyang's expression slightly shifted. This gorgeous woman was even harder to deal with than Nirvana Realm warriors. Inside the Abyss battlefield, mind power was restrained, and even vision was greatly affected. Inside the Abyss battlefield, even Nirvana realm warriors have a hard time picturing the life force fluctuations around them. But this woman was still 50 meters away from the palace. However, she seemed to have the all-seeing eye, and pointed out all the young family warriors that were hiding. With her soul power, she broke the sneak attack plan of Shi Yang and the rest. You don't need to hide, there's no point, I know your exact spots. Cao Jilan smiled, she kept waving her hand, and shot out more bright lights, forcing the young family warriors to shift and appear in plain sight. Pan Zhe smiled casually, he stepped forward, and stood beside Cao Jilan. He nodded towards young Mu from a short distance. We meet again so soon, hihi, this time you can't use demon beasts to block us, I wonder if you can still escape from this. I think I remember that the ones who fled in panic last time were not us. Young Mu seemed stunned, he scratched his head and looked towards young Ku. I'm not wrong, am I? It wasn't us who jumped into the sea. Young Ku chuckled coldly, big brother, you might have remembered wrong, some people seem to think that they won before. When facing enemies twice their amount, young Mu and young Ku were not startled at all. They still had the leisure to mock Pan Zhe, as if they didn't take this crisis seriously. Pan Zhe, Chu Yanqing, and Jiyu Linglong immediately darkened their expressions. The ones that should come out are all out now. Isn't this great? Cao Jilan smiled, she turned back, glimpsed at Pan Zhe and the rest, then said confidently, you can go inside to complete the objective of this mission now. Don't worry, there won't be any messy traps for you to deal with. Then, Cao Jilan suddenly whistled. The crisp whistle spread far and loud. On the sound of the whistle, her delicate body was like a lightning flash that shot straight towards Shi Yang. At the same time, rings of blue aura flew out of her body. These blue auras were like hula hoops, quickly flying inside the palace, with the intention of going towards the gravitational fields that Shi Yang made. Inside the blue auras, there was a flow of extremely obvious soul fluctuation. Inside every blue aura, there seemed to have Cao Jilan's mind power. Once these blue auras fell inside the gravitational fields, they immediately rippled with bright blue light, and the blue light instantly filled the entire gravitational field. The gravitational fields that were hard to be seen by the naked eye now appeared in plain sight because of the blue light. When the blue auras fell into the gravitational fields, the bright blue light that it released had no effect on the operation of the gravitational fields. However, the existence of these blue lights marked the placement of the fields, letting Pan Zhe and the rest know where the traps were, so they could dodge them. Cao Jilan didn't remind them, but from the location of the blue lights, Pan Zhe and the rest clearly saw the traps that were secretly made by Shi Yang. The gravitational fields were now useless. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In the whistling sounds, Cao Jilan shot towards Shi Yang like lightning. In a mere moment, her delicate body appeared in front of Shi Yang. Sky spirit bound. Cao Jilan shouted, a blue light cover formed by vigorous spirit energies suddenly fell on Shi Yang's head. The Sky Spirit Bound was a mortal-level martial skill. It uses the natural spirit energies to form a constraint, directly capturing the opponent. As long as the spirit energies remain, the constraint of the Sky Spirit Bound would not disappear. Performing the Sky Spirit Bound while being in the third sky of Earth Realm, Cao Jilan was confident that even young Mu would be bound by her for a while. It's not that hard. Cao Jilan chuckled, she looked at Shi Yang's figure inside the blue light cover, and shook her head, feeling slightly disappointed. I thought you would have some things up your sleeve, but it seems that you're nothing more than this. Boring. What are you talking to yourself about? Shi Yang snorted coldly. Cao Jilan's bright eyes lit up. With some excitement she looked at Shi Yang, who was outside the light cover. Then she immediately looked at the blue light cover, suddenly realizing that the original figure of Shi Yang was slowly dissipating, and disappearing bit by bit. Shadow. Cao Jilan's pretty face smiled more, she nodded, you kind of have some skills, didn't get captured by me immediately. Very good, this is more interesting. Young Mu, you won't get away, Pan Zhe yelled, with the feather fan in his hand, he already started battling with young Mu. The Earth Realm warriors that rushed in from outside the palace also quickly sought opponents. They formed into an arc, and surrounded the young family warriors, moving closer towards them. Yang Mu, Yang Ku, and the rest were dealing with their opponents and quietly backing up at the same time. They moved closer towards the area behind the palace with the thick dark clouds. When Cao Jilan pointed out their exact spots, Yang Mu already had the thought of retreat. At the moment his figure appeared, he already made hand gestures, signaling everyone to retreat to the area where the meteorite formation was. Li Feng'er and the rest all know very well in their hearts. They knew that the situation was not fit for a battle to the death. According to Yang Mu's idea, they all moved closer to that side. Pan Zhe, you weren't worthy of being my opponent then, and it is still the same now. On that side Yang Mu laughed loudly, with a fearless expression on his face. Surrounded by many warriors, an extremely explosive power was bursting from his body. That giant sword pressed towards them like mountainous waves, forming continuous explosion sounds, beating the hell out of those tight-knit warriors. Yang Mu had the immortal martial spirit. He wasn't scared of being heavily injured at all. He even purposely injured his body just to kill those surrounding attackers. Very soon, there were many wounds on Yang Mu's body. Many of the wounds were so deep that the bone was visible, they seemed extremely severe. At the expense of heavily injuring his body, in this mere moment, Yang Mu had already killed 3 warriors in the first sky of Earth realm. Plus this result was under the situation in which he was facing Pan Zhe's attacks at the same time. Yang Ku and Yang Shui were about the same as Yang Mu. They relied on their fearlessness of wounds, and when they battled with attackers, they often didn't care about getting injuries on their body. They killed the surrounding attackers at the expense of injuring their own bodies. Shi Yang, how are you gonna escape this time? Jiyu Linglong shouted coldly. A long magic sword flew through the air. This magic sword was in a strange prism shape, with a chilling cold ambience. The look in Shi Yang's eyes was calm. He didn't look at the cold magic sword that Jiyu Linglong shot out, instead he gravely stared at Cao Jilan. After one blow from Cao Jilan, she didn't attack again. Instead she observed the situation in the battlefield with interest. She saw Pan Zhe and the rest quietly surround Yang Mu's group, and she saw the Yang family warriors retreat towards that meteorite formation in an orderly manner. The moment when Jiyu Linglong's ice magic sword attacked, Shi Yang immediately guessed her intentions. In the last battle, the aftershock power of the 7 magic swords of Jiyu Linglong had once rushed into his body. However, they were burnt completely by the fire power of the 10,000-year-old core fire. As the master of the magic sword, Jiyu Linglong naturally knew that inside Shi Yang's body there was a strong fire power. So, this time she didn't shoot out all 7 magic swords, instead she concentrated the power in her body, and solely controlled this one ice sword with the cold energy, wanting to use the cold energy on this magic sword to suppress the firepower in Shi Yang's body. The ice magic sword pierced through the air. Shi Yang's expression was cold, he didn't make any actions. When he sensed that bone-chilling cold energy, a chilling grin suddenly appeared on his lips. Boom! Raising his hand, he gathered the negative energies, and a death seal suddenly bursted out. The death seal explosively shot onto the ice magic sword. Negative powers that were several times stronger than the last battle suddenly exploded, and actually blew away that cold magic sword into the air. Jiyu Linglong's delicate body shook, her face suddenly became paler, and her eyes were extremely surprised. But after the surprise, she smiled. Let me see how you are going to get rid of that cold energy this time. The moment when the death seal blew on the cold magic sword, the bone-chilling cold energy in the ice magic sword also flowed out at this opportunity, seeping through Shi Yang's entire body. The true motive of Jiyu Linglong was to let the cold energy of this ice magic sword make Shi Yang's body freeze up completely. Cao Jilan chuckled. She looked towards Shi Yang with interest, and said, "The cold energy has entered your body, how are you going to deal with it? Why is there a need to deal with it?" Shi Yang frowned, and glanced afar at Jiyu Linglong. He mocked, "Didn't that retard Jiyu Zheng'e tell you, I was once sealed in ice by the ice-cold flame for 3 years? Even the cold energy of the ice-cold flame couldn't do anything to me. Can the cold power of your little ice magic sword be stronger than the cold power of the ice-cold flame?" Jiyu Linglong's face suddenly changed. Retreat. At this very moment, Yang Mu suddenly roared, the light in his giant sword shone, and beams of extremely sharp sword aura accurately shot towards Pan Zhe and the rest. Taking this opportunity, Yang Mu and the group of Yang family warriors immediately stepped inside the meteorite formation. Let's go. Karma waved his hand and shouted, Young Master Yang, we should leave now. You guys go first. Shi Yang's face suddenly changed, all the hair on his body seemed to raise, his eyes stared straight at that Cao Zhilan. Chapter 227, You really surprised me. Chapter 227, You really surprised me. You're quite alert. Cao Zhilan smiled, like blooming flowers. A flow of surging terrifying power swept towards Shi Yang like tides. This flow of frightening power came out of nowhere. Shi Yang only noticed it when it was arrived 3 meters in front of Shi Yang. This frightening power that came from Cao Zhilan was everywhere. Silently, it already sealed all escape routes around Shi Yang. Whether it be in the sky or below the ground, everything was occupied by this power. No matter which way Shi Yang backed off to, he would touch this flow of power. This flow of terrifying power did not flow towards Shi Yang with a fast speed. Perhaps it was because the overcasting power was too broad that caused it to go extremely slowly when in action. Damned little brat, I'll see how you're gonna block it now. In the distance, Jiyu Linglong shouted coldly. She was going to activate the magical sword to attack again. Little sister Jiyu, you can leave this guy to me. You don't need to intervene. Cao Zhilan frowned, she turned back and glazed at Jiyu Linglong, then said lightly, Don't worry, when I capture him, I'll let you take out your anger on him. Capture him? Jiyu Linglong dazed, her nose twitched. Why won't you just kill him? Jiyu Linglong's bright eyes darted, and then she smiled, There is something I want on him. If he dies too soon, I might not be able to get the things that are on him. Shi Yang's expression was serious. What do you want? The things inside that ring of yours. Cao Zhilan smiled joyfully, her jade-like fingers pointed at the blood vein ring on Shi Yang's hand. You might not know, but my martial spirit can sense any extraordinary power. As for what is inside your ring, of course you know it better than I do. The ice-cold flame and the 10,000-year-old core fire. Shi Yang's expression changed. When he looked at Cao Zhilan again, the alertness in his eyes got more intense. This woman can actually sense the ice-cold flame and the 10,000-year-old core fire inside the blood vein ring. What kind of magical martial spirit does she have? Shi Yang, who was secretly stunned, stirred his negative powers, petrified his body, and performed the dark light shield at the same time. He pushed out all of his defensive powers, preparing to handle the hit of the slowly approaching, but inescapable frightening power. You can't get away. Cao Zhilan seemed to know what he wanted to do. She chuckled and shook her head, even Yang Mu can't save you now. Then, a colorful ribbon flew out of Cao Zhilan's sleeve. That ribbon was like a snake, wiggling in mid-air, and dragging out streaks of blinding rainbow light. The rainbow lights weaved into a net, and also formed another layer of barrier constraint. With the flying of the ribbons, the power in the barrier seemed to get more complicated and vigorous, as if it was made with several different powers, posing a similarity to Shi Yang's gravitational field. Boom! Yang Mu's giant sword suddenly slashed onto the light net. The rainbow lights were like strong silk threads, some of the rainbow lights shattered from the blow of the giant sword. However, more rainbow lights from that light net soon gathered towards the point at which the giant sword hit, and quickly repaired the area of damage. Yang Mu, if you want to break my rainbow net in a short time, it probably won't be easy. Cao Zhilan calmly waved her thin hand. The rainbow ribbons quickly flew, and weaved into more rainbow lights. Yang Mu, why don't you try a few more times? I think if you try a few times more, you would surely be able to break my rainbow net. Big brother. Yang Ku roared, we need to go now. Little Yang. Yang Mu roared angrily. Can you get out? If you don't go now, it would be very hard to leave. Yang Mu also sensed how Cao Zhilan surrounded Shi Yang, and he knew that Shi Yang was temporarily trapped. Thus he hurriedly intervened, in an attempt to shatter the terrifying energies around Shi Yang, so that Shi Yang can break out of the trap. Yang Mu wanted to save Shi Yang, but the situation at the moment was not looking so good. Many warriors from the Yang family already went ahead into the meteor formation. At the moment, the few ones left outside were only Yang Mu, Yang Ku, and Li Feng'er. At this time, if they get entangled with the opponents, then it would be hard even for them to get into the meteor formation. Big brother, you go first. Shi Yang roared, don't fall into their trap, you will only get more opportunities if you enter inside. Don't get the everyone else implicated because of me. The brotherly love is so touching. Xie Kuei sneered, he glared at Yang Mu with a dark evil look in his eyes, if you're brothers, then you should live together and die together. Yang Mai, last time at Black Rock Island, you killed my fellow junior disciple for this kid. In the eyes of you young family people, our lives aren't worth a thing. This time the reason why our evil wonderland is going against your young family also has something to do with your unhesitating murder. This time this kid is in trouble again. Are you going to die with him for his sake this time? Big brother. Yang Ku screamed. While he was talking, Xie Kuei and his group already surrounded Yang Mu. Jiyu Linglong, Xie Kuei, and Pan Zhe attacked together. They formed into a triangular formation to deal with Yang Mu. The three didn't make a murderous attempt immediately, instead they directed their sharp attacks to gather towards the meteor formation behind Yang Mu. Once Yang Mu backs off, he would land himself into the trap where all the attacks had gathered. Xie Kuei and the rest were trying to block off Yang Mu's escape first, so that even at a life-and-death emergency, he wouldn't be able to escape into the meteor formation. I won't leave then. Yang Mu suddenly relaxed, he glimpsed behind him at the spot where lights gathered, and said with cold pride, even if I can't leave, I will drag the you guys down with me. Xie Kuei, stop making your fucking excuses. The evil wonderland single-sidedly broke the Treaty of Alliance, and colluded with people from other seas to go against our Yang family. For what other reason can it be than their greed for our Yang family's riches? And that they want to take the Yang family's place in the Kiara Sea? Xie Kuei sneered, your Yang family has been arrogant in the Kiara Sea for too long. Because of the belligerent nature of the Yang family, none of the neighboring big seas have been at peace. The warriors from those seas have held grudges against the Yang family for a long time. With Yang Qingdi getting trapped this time, it's just the right fuse for the situation. Yang Mu, since you don't want to leave anymore, then I won't waste any more time either. Cao Jilan pressed her lips and smiled. She casually looked towards Shi Yang. Your big brother wants to protect you, but now he's getting the same outcome as you. Having someone to go to the afterlife with you, you won't be that lonely anymore. Later when you tell me the method to opening your ring, I will let you die easily, I won't give you extra pain. Bitch, you think you've got me for sure now? Shi Yang took in a deep breath, his expression soon turned vicious. Curse all you want, you can curse a few more times before you die, I won't mind. Cao Jilan still had that calm careless look, as if no matter how badly Shi Yang cursed at her, it won't move her at all, and it cannot affect her mind. Yang Ku, you guys go. Under the siege of Xie Kuei and the two others, he suddenly roared, remember to revenge for me, big brother. Yang Ku suddenly smiled, he shook his head, we've been brothers for all this time, if you are to stay, how can I escape alone? Isn't it just death? When has us, the Yang family members, been scared of death? Li Feng'er already had 1 foot in the meteor formation, but ultimately she didn't enter, and instead she stopped. Her eyes gleamed with cold light, as she said coldly, as if I'm scared of death. Then, Li Feng'er stepped back from the meteor formation, and stood next to Yang Ku again. Huff, huff. Heavy panting sounds suddenly came from inside the field. The attackers that originally had their attention on Yang Mu, Yang Ku, and Yang Feng'er couldn't help but look towards Shi Yang when they heard the panting. Unknowingly, Shi Yang's eyes had turned into a bright red color. His facial expressions were twisted and ferocious. Violent, crazy, bloodthirsty energies surged from all over his body, giving people an extremely dangerous feeling. His bright red eyes stared deep into the soul, like a ghost from the depths of hell, with the most extreme evil. The second sky of rampage. Little Yang. Yang Mu's face changed, he exclaimed, what happened to you? I'm fine. Better than ever. Shi Yang clenched his teeth, he roared with a low voice. The different negative powers surged towards all directions like enormous waves with him as the center. The terrifying power that came from Cao Jilan was forced more than 10 meters away from the frightening air wave formed by these negative powers. A mass of murderous thoughts uncontrollably appeared in the bottom of his heart. At this moment, Shi Yang was in the second sky of rampage. The different negative emotions have started to rush into his mind, gathering with his consciousness, forming into a spiritual storm, sweeping towards where the other warriors gathered. The spiritual storm formed by different negative emotions had the evil power to delude people's minds, making them fall into a state of madness. Wherever the spiritual storm went, those Earthrealm warriors seemed to have lost control of the murderous thoughts in their minds, and couldn't help but raise their weapons to attack the people beside them. That trick again. Pan Jar's handsome face showed some signs of fear. Be careful, don't get affected by his evil spiritual power. Wisps of negative powers formed, and gathered on Shi Yang's body. The martial skill, second sky of rampage, made him who was only in the disaster realm increase double in power. Shi Yang's expression was extremely ferocious, like an evil spirit. He used the negative energies on him to push away the gushing powers that surrounded him, and actually walked step by step towards Cao Jilan. No wonder Pan Zhe and the rest had lost. Cao Jilan revealed a serious expression for the first time. Her bright eyes shone with a mysterious light. A disaster realm warrior can actually have such terrifying power. Shi Yang, you really surprised me. It seems that I've underestimated you before. You actually didn't take out your real power until now. He's actually even stronger than that battle. Jiyu Linglong's pretty face changed. She looked at Shi Yang with an unbelievable expression, and couldn't help but exclaim. In the last battle, Shi Yang was in the second sky of disaster realm. He had only activated the first sky of rampage. This time, Shi Yang was at the peak of the disaster realm, performing the second sky of rampage. The atmosphere on him was not just a bit stronger than the last battle. Chapter 228, Turn the Tide. Chapter 228, Turn the Tide. In the rubbled palace, most of the warriors from the Yang family had already went ahead into the meteor formation. Now, the only ones who still stayed outside were Yang Mu, Yang Ku, Li Feng'er, and Shi Yang. However, on Cao Jilan and Pan Zhe's side, there were almost 100 warriors. Of which Pan Zhe, Cao Jilan, Xie Kuei, Chu Yanqing, and Jiyu Linglong were all elite figures on the leaderboard. These 5 people were enough to win against Shi Yang's group. With Shi Yang inadvertently getting surrounded by the wave-like powers that Cao Jilan released, Yang Mu also got in the mess by trying to save him. Afterwards, Yang Ku and Li Feng'er both knew that their chances were slim, but they stopped, turned around, and stood with Yang Mu. In the field, Shi Yang finally performed the second sky of rampage in such a serious crisis, making the rolling negative energies in his meridians merge with the blood in his body. At that moment, the power in Shi Yang's body doubled again. Being at the peak of the disaster realm, the power on his body kept increasing. Under the refining of the surging negative powers, they instantly formed into frightening evil impacts, and actually pushed away the omnipresent powers that Cao Jilan quietly casted this way. And Shi Yang himself started stepping towards Cao Jilan. The evil powers of hate, fear, desperation, bloodthirst, and violence gushed out of Shi Yang's body. This flow of evil power rushed up into the sky like a whirlwind. As Shi Yang walked, the waves of evil power kept forming, and actually transformed into 3 magnificent mountain-like demonic shadows. 3 demonic shadows were formed with different negative powers. They had Shi Yang's soul imprint on them, and carried surging negative emotions. The demonic phantoms were foggy, and floated above Shi Yang's head. Their faces were blurred, but gave an extremely terrifying feeling to others. Shi Yang's eyes were bright red. He coldly glared at Cao Jilan. Murderous thoughts came into his mind. Those 3 giant demonic phantoms suddenly flew out simultaneously. Their big demon claws were like overcasting dark clouds, pressing towards Cao Jilan. The faces of everyone in the field suddenly changed. Shi Yang's power instantly soared, and formed 3 giant demonic phantoms on top of his head. The 3 demonic phantoms seemed like they were illusions, but brought extremely fierce and frightening energy fluctuations. Anyone could see that once they get hit by a demonic phantom, it wouldn't be weaker than a full power hit from Shi Yang. Little Yang, you really are something. On the side, Yang Mu laughed out loud. He held a big sword in one hand, and swung it at the sky. The giant sword in his hand seemed light as a feather to him. It swung a beautiful arc in the sky. A cluster of bright silver light suddenly shot out, and forced back the approaching Pan Zhe with one blow. Suddenly, from inside the meteor formation, Yang Shui, Karma, and Jiang Huquan appeared. These young family warriors that went ahead into the meteor formation saw that Yang Mu and the others were at such a delay, and finally realized that Yang Mu had probably encountered danger. They actually came back and appeared again. With the help from Yang Shui and the other young family warriors, they temporarily resolved the attacks towards Yang Mu and the two others, unburdening them. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. 3 giant demonic phantoms, under the murderous thoughts from Shi Yang's mind, crazily pounced towards Cao Jilan. The 3 demonic phantoms were formed purely with the negative powers in the meridians. They weren't afraid of physical attacks. No godly weapon could kill these phantoms. Under the attacks of these 3 demonic phantoms, Cao Jilan's expression also became more serious. While being encircled by 3 giant phantoms, Cao Jilan's delicate hand waved slightly, and different energy fluctuations that were different from profound qi flew out of his palm. Those strange power fluctuations rippled like water. Energy fluctuations formed into a strange barrier that was difficult to see by the naked eye. This barrier actually had extraordinary defense power. Under the bombarding of the 3 demonic phantoms, that strange barrier kept twisting, but never broke. More traces of sweat appeared on Cao Jilan's supple cheek. It seemed that also she could defend against the attack of the 3 demonic shadows with the profoundness of her martial skill. She still had to use up quite a lot of power. The seal of life and death. Shi Yang roared. The patterns from both hands suddenly glowed in bright light. With 7 seals per hand, the seals merged in pairs and suddenly blowed towards Cao Jilan. Boom 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 boom. 7 deep and fierce bursts came from the barrier formed by Cao Jilan. The extraordinary barrier that was difficult to see by the naked eye turned into firefly-like lights that shattered into the sky and spread everywhere. Cao Jilan's pretty face changed slightly. She exclaimed, "Star shift." The lights that spread throughout the sky suddenly gathered quickly and formed into a smooth flat mirror in front of Cao Jilan. At the moment the mirror surface formed, the 3 giant demonic phantoms just happened to force themselves this way, their claws fiercely grabbing towards Cao Jilan. Magically, the 3 giant demonic phantoms suddenly disappeared without a trace when they fell into the mirror surface. Just right in front of Cao Jilan, those 3 demonic phantoms seemed as if they vanished in thin air, not leaving a single trace. A surprised light flashed across Shi Yang's bright red eyes. His mind shifted, and with the help of his senses, he realized that those 3 giant demonic phantoms actually appeared outside the palace, 3 li away from here. Cao Jilan used a profound martial spirit that actually managed to transport the demonic phantoms formed by negative powers, and easily resolved his fatal blow. You sure have some methods. Only in the disaster realm, you can actually force me to use such a defensive martial skill. You have enough to take pride in. Cao Jilan gave a light sigh, and shook her head. With some sympathy she said, "I originally wanted to catch you alive, but since you had such an eye-catching performance, it seems that I'll have to kill you first, then slowly try to figure out the secrets on you." After those words came out, suddenly there were strange lights glimmering in Cao Jilan's deep beautiful eyes. Those strange lights circulated in a special pattern in her eyes, like the stars up in the sky, moving in their mysterious tracks according to the laws of the universe. At the same time, flows of different types of powers quickly surged in Cao Jilan's delicate body. Inside her body, 5 different lights the colors of red, yellow, green, blue, and green quietly appeared. These 5 different colored lights became more and more obvious. Each holy light seemed to be a power entirely different from profound qi. 5-colored holy light. Yang Mu's expression was extremely stern. He suddenly roared, "Shi Yang, you can't fight the enemy head-on, retreat immediately." Shi Yang's bright red eyes stared coldly at Cao Jilan. At this most breathtaking moment, he suddenly closed his eyes. The faces of Yang Shui, Yang Ku, and Li Feng'er suddenly changed. Together they all yelled out, trying to convince Shi Yang to dodge. The 5-colored holy light was a sacred-level martial spirit from the Cao family. It is said that the cultivation of the skill was extremely difficult. First you have to cultivate 5 martial spirits that each form different powers, and then try to master all of those 5 martial skills, thus owning 5 different types of powers in one's body. Only then could they start cultivating the 5-colored holy light. Because the 5-colored holy light was so hard to cultivate, even in the cow family, there were rarely anyone that could successfully cultivate it. Reportedly, the power of the skill was extremely astonishing. Once Yang Mu and the rest saw the 5 different colored lights coming from inside Cao Jilan's body, they immediately recognized this legendary martial skill. They hurriedly tried to advise Shi Yang to dodge. However, at this crucial moment, Shi Yang actually closed his eyes. After Yang family warriors like Yang Mu, Yang Shui, Li Feng'er shouted in shock, their expressions appeared to be extremely anxious. They wanted to go help Shi Yang, but they were stopped by the opponents in front of them, and had no time to spare. I know those 3 giant demonic phantoms are quickly flying this way, but I think you won't be able to wait until their help comes. The 5-colored holy light came out, and a flow of extremely dangerous power presence came from her body. That 5-colored holy light suddenly gathered in front of her voluminous breasts. 5 types of holy light quickly formed into one broad beam holy light that was wide as a sky-reaching pillar. Devastating energy fluctuations came from inside that holy light, and suddenly shot out. Its target was pointed straight at Shi Yang. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The wide 5-colored holy light shot out of thin air. Its speed was faster than the naked eye could catch. Shi Yang stood firmly in his place. Whoosh. The 5-colored god light shoot through his body. Its force was like a laser beam. It shattered one of the skyscraping pillars behind him, and continued to shoot forward, crumbling another palace on its way. Little Yang! Yang Mu screamed, his expression was grievous. There were bits of mysterious light gleaming in Cao Jilan's beautiful eyes. Her pretty face was a little surprised. She said faintly, another illusion. You've escaped this time, but are you going to have such great luck next time? In the stone fragments that flew all over the sky, another Shi Yang's shadow slowly appeared. Using the electric shift and the phantom shift, and with the magical mental state of the second sky of Rampage, Shi Yang was able to predict the attack speed and direction of the holy light ahead of time, thus dodging the fatal blow of the 5-colored holy light. This time, I won't dodge. His bright red eyes calmly looked at Cao Jilan. Shi Yang's tone was flat, without a single trace of emotion. Wisps of scorching flame power quietly seeped out of the blood vein ring. The flame power swept through his meridians. Wisps of flames came about the nostrils and eye corners of Shi Yang. The condition of his body was extremely strange. At the crucial moment, the then 1,000-year-old core fire had reached out in aid once again, injecting the fire power that can burn all beings into his body. Chapter 229, Counterattack. Chapter 229, Counterattack. Dude, you scared the crap out of me. Li Feng'er stuck out her tongue, and revealed an expression of lingering fear. Ha, you can even dodge the 5-colored holy light, you certainly are no ordinary person. Yang Mu's expression also loosened. He threw a look at Shi Yang from far away, signaling Shi Yang to find an opportunity to retreat back to the meteor formation. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The harsh wind sound came again. The wave of 5-colored holy light that was dodged by Shi Yang came back, and actually shot towards Shi Yang's back after crushing another palace. You're not going to dodge anymore? Are you for real? There was a mocking smile on Cao Jilan's lips. Let me see your courage then. Little Yang, don't get triggered by her. This 5-colored holy light is formed by 5 different types of powers. Even a normal disaster realm warrior probably won't be able to handle it. Don't act rashly. Yang Mu shouted. Yang Ku and Yang Shui also tried to advise him. Shi Yang closed his eyes again. The 5-colored holy light that came back brought an energy fluctuation that could destroy that heavens and earth. It blew towards Shi Yang's back. Boom. Clusters of flames continuously flew out of Shi Yang's body. The scorching flame power that came from the core fire instantly turned the area behind Shi Yang into a sea of fire. Crackling sounds appeared in the air, and the fiery power that could destroy all beings gushed inside that flame. Just like that, the 5-colored holy light fell into the sea of fire formed by the flames of the 10,000-year-old core fire. SSSSS. Inside the sea of fire, there came strange sounds. They could see that the 5-colored holy light was being burnt by the flame power inside the sea of fire. Firelight of 5 different colors appeared from inside the sea of fire. The power of this 5-colored holy light was rapidly being burnt by the sea of fire, and its power was quickly being weakened. The 10,000-year-old core fire at the moment could count as a sky fire. The power of a sky fire was earth-shattering, able to burn all beings. The sea of fire formed by the flame power of this core fire also had the elemental properties of a sky fire. That scorching flame power was able to burn anything into flames. The different types of powers and energies were also no exception. The 5-colored holy light rushed into the sea of fire and was turned to ashes by the flame power at such a quick speed, only leaving colorful 5-colored smoke and ashes behind. I told you, I won't dodge anymore. Shi Yang finally opened his eyes again. He glared coldly at Cao Jilan. Inside your 5-colored holy light, there is your soul seal, and your soul consciousness can lock my location. Next time, no matter how I try to dodge, I would still be endlessly chased by your 5-colored holy light. So, I'm not going to dodge anymore. You can actually sense my soul consciousness. Cao Jilan's beautiful eyes glinted with mysterious colors. Only a Nirvana realm warrior that has formed a sea of consciousness can sense my soul lock. You're only in the disaster realm, how can you possibly sense my soul lock? I don't understand. There are way more things that you don't understand. A trace of disdain flashed in Shi Yang's bright red eyes. Then he lightly shouted, "Counterattack!" The 3 demonic phantoms that flew in from outside the palace suddenly surged into the middle of the pursuing warriors. At the same time, Shi Yang's soul consciousness formed into a soul storm, adding the different negative emotions into it, and started a raging soul storm where the crowd of people was the most concentrated. Warriors under the Nirvana realm couldn't form the sea of consciousness, and could only use their mind power. They couldn't form attacks that can target souls. However, Shi Yang was able to use the soul-gathering pearl to unbelievably form the sea of consciousness ahead of time. With the help of his sea of consciousness, he first saw through all the secrets of Cao Jilan's soul lock. Now he was using soul attacks to bombard those pursuing killers. The formation of the sea of consciousness meant that Shi Yang's evolution of the soul was more successful than everyone here. With the sea of consciousness, Shi Yang's soul senses were in every corner. He could use soul attacks to go against any soul, to perform a surprise attack. The sea of consciousness that was never used before suddenly bursted out with the attack of the soul storm. Wherever the soul storm went, those pursuing attackers became red-headed. Then completely forgot who they were, and raised the weapons in their hands to attack the allies next to them. Waves of soul storms affected dozens of pursuing attackers, making those attackers go into disorder and become insane. Taking advantage of the situation, Shi Yang used his mind to control those 3 demonic phantoms. Those demonic phantoms were formed with pure negative energies, and flew around in the field, going through the bodies of warriors. Whenever a demonic phantom went through the body of a warrior, that person's life force would be immediately cut off, and die on the spot. Shi Yang suddenly crossed his legs and sat down on his spot. Using his mind to control the 3 giant demonic phantoms, he was also gathering soul consciousness at the same time, adding in the negative emotions, forming a soul storm that made people lose their sanity. Thus continuously influencing the battling enemies, making the pursuing attackers start to go crazy. Soul consciousness. This is soul consciousness. Cao Jilan's soul martial spirit, after a moment of comprehension, finally realized something. She couldn't help but shout, her face was filled with shock. What? Jiyu Linglong's pretty face changed drastically, she shook her head unbelievably. This kid is clearly only in the disaster realm, how can he possess the sea of consciousness? Cao Jilan didn't answer, she copied Shi Yang and also sat down. The storage ring on her hand flashed, and a red leather battle drum appeared in the palm of her hand. Bum! 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 Across from Shi Yang, Cao Jilan's legs were crossed, and her fair hands hit beat by beat on that battle drum. The sound of the drum seemed to have a mysterious power that twisted soul consciousness. The beating of the drum seemed to have stabbed into Shi Yang's head like a pisser, seeping into Shi Yang's sea of consciousness, making him unable to form soul consciousness to form an attack again. This battle drum was clearly made to go against the sea of consciousness of Nirvana realm warriors. Bum, bum, bum. The strange sound of the drum rang throughout the field. Each of the warriors that were turned to insanity by Shi Yang's soulstorm had regained clarity in their eyes and slowly awakened. Shi Yang's face changed, he abruptly stood up and nodded towards Yang Mu, retreat. The three demonic phantoms that were formed with negative energies became a little out of control due to the disorder in Shi Yang's sea of consciousness. They started to split into streaks of pale smoke, raveling towards Jiyu Linglong and the others. The soul storm was no longer working, and even the demonic phantoms formed with negative energies were hard to control. At the same time, the fatigue in his body became heavier and heavier. The after effect of the second sky of rampage seemed to have slowly started. In this kind of situation, Shi Yang made a prompt decision. He knew that they continue the fight, they were probably going to be killed one by the opponents. Retreat! Yang Mu roared, his shoulder bumped and sent Yang Ku straight back into the meteor formation. He was scared that Yang Ku might act stupidly again, so he sent him inside ahead of time. Then he finally shouted towards Li Feng'er and the rest that were not far away, "Let's go." Feeling the fatigue in his body rush in like waves, Shi Yang no longer overexerted himself, and hurriedly retreated backwards. A graceful figure wearing a fiery red armor suddenly appeared into view. Shi Yang slightly dazed, then he realized that the beautiful figure was actually He Qingman. He Qingman's pretty face was cold, she performed an intense martial skill, and fought with Yang Shui. When Yang Mu's loud roar came, He Qingman snorted coldly. The movements on her hands became more and more intense, with the ferocious look on his face as if she was going to keep Yang Shui from escaping. "You wanna die." Shi Yang was just about to storm back towards Yang Shui's direction, when he clearly saw the intense movements on He Qingman's hands. He snorted coldly, and raised his hand. The life seal formed with profound qi suddenly bursted out. He Qingman was just concentrating on her fight with Yang Shui, and out of nowhere she realized there was a turbulent fluctuation coming from behind her. Her pretty face changed, and when she turned her head she immediately noticed Shi Yang's life seal attack. A strange expression appeared on He Qingman's flirtatious face. She bitterly threw a glare at Shi Yang, then suddenly withdrew herself to back off towards Yang Shui's direction. Yang Shui, who was dueling with her, clearly had a great opportunity, but surprisingly didn't make a killing attempt. Instead she suddenly backed off into the meteor formation. Shi Yang was stunned. Yang Shui had obviously held back. If she didn't hurriedly back into the meteor formation, and fought back at He Qingman, then He Qingman, who was busy with dodging the blow of the life seal, definitely would not have blocked an attack from behind her. "Mind your own business." He Qingman's charming figure drifted away like the wind. She quietly cursed out while dodging Shi Yang's life seal. Shi Yang dazed. Glimpsing towards He Qingman a few more times, and remembering back to Yang Shui's strange actions, Shi Yang suddenly came to a realization. So these two women had been pretending all along. The two seemed to be fighting very intensely, but in reality they never made murderous attempts. They were only making a show in front of everyone. Shi Yang, who had reacted to the situation, still had a cold expression on his face. He said coldly, "Piss off." He let out the dark shield, and petrified his body. Shi Yang was like a sharp sword, quickly sweeping past He Qingman's side and quickly rushing towards that meteor formation. He Qingman raised her hand, beams of sharp bright light shot from her 5 fingers, and all blew at Shi Yang's back. The bright light that seemed intense, actually didn't have much invading power on his body. If Shi Yang didn't shatter his dark shield on purpose, this blow from He Qingman wouldn't even be able to break the most simple dark shield. This woman still had some touches of sentiment in her. Through this blow, Shi Yang had finally confirmed that even though He Qingman came to the chasm battlefield, her objectives were different from Xie Kuei's. She didn't actually want to kill them. Shi Yang's figure disappeared within a flash. He vanished at where the dark grey cloud was the most dense. Yang Mu laughed loudly, and disappeared last. Pan Zhe and the rest had ugly expressions on their faces. They rushed towards that area with the pursuing killers, and were just about to enter into the meteor formation. "Let's not chase first." Cao Zhilan, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground, suddenly stood up. She shook her head with a serious expression, and explained, "There is a formation in there, it's quite dangerous. The reason why the young family members can get in and out safely is because they already resolved the formation. But if you enter rashly, you will be attacked by the formation." "Then what do we do?" Jiyu Longlong clenched her teeth, and said bitterly, "Are we just going to let this go? Mph, I thought you were pretty strong, yet you still can't do anything with that brat Shiyang? And you said leave him to you. I just shouldn't have trusted you. If I had come along, we definitely would have been able to kill him. Little sister Jiyu, if you're so confident, then I'll give him to you next time." Cao Jilan didn't get mad, she smiled casually, and said, "But now, everyone calm down. Can you wait for me to break the formation for you first?" Everyone was silent, and then they all nodded. Chapter 230 Lost. Chapter 230 Lost. Inside the meteor formation. Meteorites as big as millstones were falling from the sky one after one, and their impacts were extremely violent. As soon as he entered the meteor formation, Shiyang immediately saw a meteorite landing beside him. Grey smoke was very thick in this place. Shiyang couldn't see anyone. When he used his soul consciousness, he couldn't sense any life signal around him, either. As he entered the formation, Shiyang felt as if he had walked into a strange environment where his 5 senses were clogged up, and his soul consciousness was hindered. Remembering the words of Jiang Huquan, 7 steps to the left then 5 steps to the right, Shiyang followed this simple footwork and walked deeper into this strange meteor formation. He couldn't see people nor sense anything with his soul consciousness except for the meteorites falling over one after another. Jiang Huquan's footwork was indeed very magical. Following this pattern, Shiyang could see the meteorites falling one by one, but none of those meteors could hit him. When some of the meteorites were about to hit him, Shiyang wanted to try to block the meteorites using his body, but he soon found out that the meteorites fell to his side instead of hitting on him. It was like as long as he followed Jiang Huquan's footwork, he would never get hit. Shiyang calmed down and sped up his pace to get through this meteor formation. Suddenly, a strange thought came out from the blood vein ring. Shiyang was startled. He halted immediately. He used his soul consciousness to sense, and his face slightly changed. The earth flame became very excited. It even wanted to break out from the blood vein ring's constraint. It was unknown why it became agitated inside this meteor array. The ice-cold flame was also present inside the blood vein ring. As the blood vein ring seemed to know that the ice-cold flame was all along a threat toward Shiyang, it used a magical power inside the ring to bind the ice-cold flame to prevent it from using its ability to attack Shiyang. However, the blood vein ring's attitude was very loose towards the 10,000-year earth flame. It seemed to know that the 10,000-year earth flame wouldn't harm Shiyang, so not only did it construct a comfortable environment for it inside the ring, but also didn't bind the earth flame. This meant the earth flame could come out from the ring as easily as it wished. This time, the earth flame's abnormality was that it wanted to come out. "Don't." Shiyang used his soul consciousness to try to stop the earth flame, but he found that he was already too late. From the moment he released his soul consciousness, the earth flame had already flown away from the blood vein ring, heading towards his right side. Inside the meteor formation, Shiyang's soul consciousness couldn't detect any life fluctuations around him, but this restriction seemed not to degrade his connection to the earth flame. Maybe that was because the relationship between him and the earth flame was already too close, that there was a strange connection between them. Even Shiyang, if didn't release his soul consciousness, he still could feel the location of the earth flame. Boom boom boom. One after another, the meteorites continued to fall from the sky. If Shiyang didn't follow the footwork pattern, he definitely would have been hit. The earth flame ignored Shiyang's warning and flew away. It seemed to be attracted to something. At this time, if Shiyang still didn't continue to move, he would probably lose the earth flame's location if the distance between him and the flame became too far. Inside the chasm battlefield, there were many barriers. If he lost the connection with the earth flame, it would not be easy to find it again. At this time, the earth flame was only 1 step away from fully ascending from their location. Also at this time, if there was someone who wanted to catch it, as long as they knew the right way, They could ultimately replace Shi Yang and establish a deep connection between him and the Earth Flame, and thus became the Earth Flame's new master. Shi Yang's face looked uncertain. He pondered for a while, and then he decided to catch up with the Earth Flame. As he changed his pace, he immediately used his essence chi to burst toward the Earth Flame's location like a sharp sword. Boom, boom, boom. At the moment he changed his footwork, the meteorites inside the meteor formation suddenly came and crashed at him as if they had eyes. Whoosha! His shadow was like lightning, passing the falling meteorites with his fastest speed while avoiding them. Boom, boom. A huge meteorite suddenly came and crashed Shi Yang's back. An extreme force of impact burst out from his back. Although his petrified body could withstand the impact, he couldn't maintain his speed, and thus he became the target for other meteorites. In just a few seconds, his body couldn't bear the impact from 5 meteorites, and his body was also exhausted. Under this bombardment, his mouth started to gush out blood again. Shi Yang stopped and didn't dare to make any move. He silently sensed his injuries with a little impatience. At the previous fight with Cao Zilan, he had used the second sky of rampage, and his meridians had also absorbed a lot of essence chi from the dead. Now, the backlash started to show its effect, and his body became weaker. At this time, he was hit by 5 meteorites and damaged badly. If it wasn't because of his petrification martial spirit, he would have already fallen to the ground under those attacks. The Earth Flame was 100 meters in front of him. For now, this distance was like a death road which was tough to pass through. If he weren't careful, he would be hit again. Inside this array, he was not sure when Cao Zilan's group would appear. If he lost his consciousness here, not only would he continue bearing the impact of those meteorites, but he also had to face the risk of being detected by Cao Zilan and the others. But if he followed the footwork, he could still get through this meteor formation and thus avoid the danger from the meteorites and Cao Zilan. However, if he did so, he would probably lose the Earth Flame. With a sullen face, Shi Yang looked hesitated. In his mind, he kept weighing gains and losses and needed to make a decision soon. I'll ignore it for now. 10 seconds later, Shi Yang made up his mind to put aside the Earth Flame first and wait for his body to recover before he returns to find the Earth Flame. He was ready to leave. BZZ BZZ BZZ. Suddenly, a dazzling red light came from Earth Flame's direction. A strong burning fire energy suddenly burst out. The Earth Flame was very excited. It used its mind power to urge Shi Yang to keep up. Shi Yang was stunned. The mind power from the Earth Flame was very clear. It seemed like it had found something and told Shi Yang to hurry up. As the Earth Flame didn't have a solid form, it couldn't be hit inside the meteor formation. It also didn't know that every step that Shi Yang took faced a considerable danger. It was just calling Shi Yang, wanting to share its findings with him. Struggling inside his heart and feeling the call from the Earth Flame, Shi Yang's eyes changed again and again. Damn, bring it on. A moment later, Shi Yang changed his decision. He took a deep breath and swallowed a few of chi refining pills. After he had felt the profound chi inside his body restored a bit, he triggered the electric shift and flew toward the Earth Flame's direction. Boom, boom, boom. Another 3 meteorites hit his body. The fierce impact power damaged his body and blew him into the air. He gushed out a mouthful of blood. By relying on petrification and immortal martial spirits, he didn't care about his damaged body. He triggered the electric shift again, and finally, he arrived at the Earth Flame's location before other meteorites fell near his location. Everything became quiet again. As he entered the area where the Earth Flame was, the meteorites suddenly disappeared. With the mouth full of blood, Shi Yang fell on the ground, and his face looked surprised at this area. It was an ancient array with the size of a house. Outside the ancient array, many circles of the energy flow were formed. These energy flow blocked the meteorites and prevented those meteorites from entering this array. Inside the ancient array, Shi Yang couldn't hear anything. The Earth Flame was floating in the middle of the ancient array. A thumb-sized crimson-red crystal laid inside the groove in the center. It seemed like that crystal was the supply source of this ancient array, overflowing red firelight and transmitting some sort of energy to this array. Outside the ancient array, there were also many grooves. Each of those grooves had a different color crystal, and each of the crystals transmitted a strange energy to provide energy to this ancient array. The earth flame was floating above that red crystal and jumping cheerfully, seeming like it wanted to absorb the energy inside the crystal. After Shi Yang had entered and examined this ancient array, he was about to ask the earth flame what this red crystal was used for, but he found the crystals around the ancient array burst out a colorful halo all of a sudden. The ancient array that was initially quiet started to run automatically after he had entered. Being surprised a bit, Shi Yang knew that this array was probably going to be activated. Without thinking furthermore, he quickly sent a message to the earth flame, "Get in first." The earth flame bounced as it seemed to find something abnormal. It only hesitated for a bit before immediately drilling into Shi Yang's blood vein ring. After seeing the earth flame return, Shi Yang was relaxed and prepared to leave this mysterious ancient array. However, when he wanted to leave, he found that the strange energy flow outside the ancient array became a barrier that blocked the way in and out at the moment the ancient array started moving. Shi Yang's head hit the barrier while it directly pushed his exhausted body into the middle of the ancient array. Shi Yang was aghast. The crystals outside the array were shining dazzlingly. The ancient array suddenly spun up as if it was a disk. Through a dazzling crystal light, an extraordinary energy wave came over. Shi Yang disappeared instantly. Chapter 231 Breakthrough. The Meteor Array. In another account of the old array technique, Yang Mu, Yang Shui, Yang Ku, Li Feng'er, and other warriors of the Yang family were all standing in the old array technique formation. This formation was quite similar to the one of Shi Yang, the only small difference was of the energy crystal around the array technique. At this time, the energy crystal kept releasing a dazzling light. The Yang family's warriors then entered into the old array technique, following the time when the light was released and disappeared continuously. Yang Mu's group followed Jian Huquan's method. Each person of the Yang family used exactly this method to move forward when entering into the old array technique, hence, they were not affected by the special outer space meteorite. According to Jian Huquan, this way led to the exit of the meteor array. Thus, Jian Huquan had reminded everyone of the Yang family to not hesitate in standing in the middle of the old array technique, or else they would have had been pushed out by the old array technique. Quickly, all the warriors of the Yang family went through into the old array technique and disappeared from the meteor array. Each person, like when Shi Yang had just entered, could not have seen each other's back as it was not possible to see anything inside the meteor array. Upon entering the old array technique, everyone would be teleported in a blink, so no one was aware of one another's situation. However, thanks to Jian Huquan's encouragement, they did not hesitate and entered the old array technique right away. This was the reason why Shi Yang's warriors lost trace of Yang Mu's warriors in the meteor array. Outside of the meteor array, Cao Ji-lan had beautiful, tender long legs with strange light flaring up in her eyes. The soul martial spirit was controlled by her spirit, which then started to analyze the transformation of the meteor array. The soul martial spirit then realized the miraculous movement of the meteor array. All the people of Pange stood outside the meteor array. Not a single person dared enter. Cao Ji-lan, who had been using the soul martial spirit for a while, suddenly burst into laughter, slowly stood up, and then said, "With the meteor array, you can either go to the left or to the right. As long as you do not make a wrong move, the meteorites cannot attack you. Well, if you choose go on the left, move 7 steps to the left, then 5 steps to the right, and vice versa. You can move to the right 7 steps, then to the left 5 steps, and then you can get out of the meteor array. So, should we go to the left or to the right?" Jiu Ling Long knitted his brows and irritatingly said, "Inside the meteor array, there are 2 sure ways out, which may possibly lead to 2 different areas. Our target is the Yang family, so we should first figure out the direction of the Yang family, and only then will we be able to pursue them." Cao Ji-lan calmly asked, "How can we know the path that the Yang family had taken?" Xie Kuei's face darkened with a murderous look in his eyes. "Yang Mu is easy to deal with. If he isn't already dead, he will surely find a way for revenge. If we fight with the Yang family, we cannot let them have a single chance of survival, we simply cannot let anyone live. When Shi Yang and I had fought, I recognized that he had vigorous flame power. I had just used my soul martial spirit recently and discovered that there was a very strong movement of flame power on the right. Cao Zhilan faintly smiled. Maybe Shi Yang is on the way out on the right. Yang Mu will not be separated from Shi Yang. If Shi Yang is there, the Yang family will be there too. Good, we'll follow the way on the right then. Pan Zhe nodded and spoke to warriors of the Penglai divine land who stood behind him. Remember carefully of Miss Cao's words. Once entering the meteor array, they were to first move to the right 7 steps, then to left 5 steps, not daring to make a mistake. Okay, I'll lead. Cao Zhilan calmly entered first. In the middle of the immense and oppressively hot desert, a figure with their arms and legs up, like a dead squirrel, slowly breathing and exhaustively tired. Many different powers started to recover inside of his body, and the negative emotions inside of the meridian silently scattered out. The desert temperature was scorching, but there was no sun. The sky was vivid red, like the color of fresh blood. Looking around carefully, there were uneven dunes out there. There was no signs of life, no greenery, and no sound whatsoever. A flaming power stream flew out from the ring, flying around flexibly in the heated desert. It seemed to signal something. This place makes me uncomfortable. A flow of cold flames from the blood vein ring circulated around. This strange atmosphere has scorching powers. The air blast seems to belong to the sun, but there is no sun. I do not know what is going on. This is somewhere in the area of the chasm battlefield. Strange indeed. The earth flame seems to like this place very much so. After coming here, he seems to be happy, Shi Yang replied. He was kicked out by the old array technique, and fell down in this vast desert. He did not have any other old array technique. His whole body was injured. He did not have any more energy to explore this mysterious place. He then laid on the ground without moving, silently recovering. We cannot see the sun in this place, but there is still the intense power of the sun. Very strange indeed. The ice-cold flame was musing for a while before it suddenly said, "This place is very suitable for your refining technique. You can rely on the mysterious power here. Use the earth flame to keep practicing the refining technique. This will help your body become stronger. Recover first, then we will see." Shi Yang did not refuse and smiled miserably while looking up to the sky. He stopped talking to the ice-cold flame and focused on slowly recovering. After taking the refining pills, the power spread out and combined with his profound qi. Without using too much energy, his profound qi was getting stronger by the minute, and the consumed qi was replenished quickly. Refining pills were a marvelous drug which restored profound qi. Refining pills were treasured in the endless sea. Only powerful warriors could take them, whereas normal warriors did not have enough ability to be able to consume the refining pills. The therapeutic power of the 10 refining pills was enough for the profound qi of a warrior at the earth level stage to restore quickly. For Shi Yang, who had only the disaster realm peak, the effect of these 10 refining pills was more than enough. The profound qi was silently concentrating. Shi Yang relaxed his mind and started to realize the strange things that was happening inside of his body. The injured body was recovering rapidly under the effect of the immortal martial spirit. Bones, which had been destroyed by the meteorites, were strengthened every minute. Broken blood vessels were healed in a very short time. A normal person would have needed a few days to recover, but he only needed a few minutes. Inside his meridian channel, a flow of air quickly circulated and filtered the energy, which had been refined by the mysterious martial spirit, so that it could be absorbed directly. However, negative thoughts appeared, and silently disturbed Shi Yang's mind, pulling him down to the deep dark abyss. This time, about 10 warriors had died inside of the castle. As a result of the death of the 10 Earth level stage warriors, their energy was now being transferred into him. Negative feelings created from refining this energy was enough for him to lose his mind and go insane. After slowly sensing for a while, he realized that it was not easy to stay strong-minded. Shi Yang contemplated for a moment and decided to hide behind the dunes. Places that he went, others could also find out. If Cao Zhilan's warriors came while he was refining the energy and got crazy, it simply would not be safe. After spending some time recovering, his body was restored a little bit. He then released the finger gun. His 10 fingers were then like 10 sabers arising out of the sand, making way for him to get into the dune. The earth flame flew around outside. It seemed to sense Shi Yang's intentions and stopped careening before his body disappeared behind the dune. Shi Yang, once again, immersed himself in the blood vein ring. Holding his breath, Shi Yang went 10 meters inside the dune until his whole body was covered with sand and could not move any further. He then stopped. Not long after that, the refining meridian channels reached to the key point of time. He finally could not resist the persistent negative thoughts and started losing his mind. Deep down, 10 meters inside the dune, Shi Yang was struggling with all the sand enveloping him. The pressure of the sand on him made it impossible to utter a single word. The sand became a natural chain that temporarily binded him. Shi Yang then lost his mind and wriggled about mindlessly. He could not think of using the finger gun to claw his way out. He only kept struggling inside of the dune, squirming about mindlessly. A long time had passed. Shi Yang's struggle weakened and he stopped yelling. All strange energy silently flew out from his meridian channels, spreading to every corner in his body. Shi Yang gradually lost his perception and did not realize that his body had transformed. He unwittingly had let strange energy run inside of his body, pervading his arteries and bones. Time had slowly passed. Shi Yang suddenly woke up after a long time. He immediately realized that his exhausted body started to gain its full power back. No matter if it was the profound chi or his own body, both fully recovered to the max, and it couldn't be better. Oh! The light of profound chi on his belly kept condensing and shrinking. Although there was no one conducting it, the light of profound chi was refining quickly. Following the light of profound chi, every corner of his body was acting like sponges, drawing on the profound chi energy which was flowing out from the light. Shi Yang's consciousness ran around his whole body inside out. His mind was suddenly omniscient. Right after that, an exciting smile appeared on his face. He then started to relax his spirit and depended on the transformation to move the energy from the light of profound chi to his body. Harnessing the power from that energy, his arteries became sparklingly transparent, like a miraculous delicate jade. His arteries were changing and gradually expanding whenever profound chi flew in. Expanding arteries helped profound chi move faster inside of his body, which meant that his capacity for profound chi was much higher. His body movement was also even quicker. The allobiosis of arteries was the best visual sign to see when the stages of disaster had broken through to the Earth level stage. Chapter 232, The Earth Realm. Chapter 232, The Earth Realm. Translator, Editor. Inside the dune. Shi Yang's entire body luminesced dazzlingly since his tendons and vessels had been overwhelmed with the bountiful profound chi which made his vessels sleek and smooth. As a result, the veins on his body were also developed, enlarged, and became much sturdier. The running speed of the profound chi was getting faster while the flow of the profound chi kept moving non-stop, then branched forth, pouring into the blinding rays of the profound chi light. The profound chi light on his belly was continually being depressed and refined as it had propelled the stored energy inside of that ray of light so that it kept on increasing, which was the result of that peculiar strength. That fantastic strength was released from his meridians, which had then promoted the miraculous effect of the profound chi light. Thanks to this mysterious effect, the profound chi light kept on being condensed and refined non-stop, and it didn't seem to stop even though it had already tripled in size. As the vessels had been enlarged and hardened, Shi Yang's body seemed to be bloated, swarmed by heavy sensations of pain. However, the pain that ensued from the bloating was nothing compared to the hardship of the martial arts cultivation. Shi Yang held his breath as he was initiating the realm of his meditative state while his entire body and mind were concentrating on the process in which the profound chi light was transforming his body. "Ah," said the ice-cold flame, as it suddenly sent out a message from the blood vein ring. "Are you going to break through the Earth realm?" "Yes, that's right." "Very good, very good." The ice-cold flame displayed a wicked tone. "You have already obtained another flame. If you use the burning fires of the earth flame to temper your vessels during your cultivation, your vessels will be more tenacious and resilient. As long as you can withstand this arduous cultivation, The circulation speed of the profound qi in your vessels will be much stronger than that of the other ordinary Earth Realm warriors that have been trained with the same martial art techniques as you have, which naturally means that you will be quicker than them when performing such techniques. So, what do you think of this? Shi Yang's eyes had suddenly brightened up as he exclaimed, "Not a problem at all. I am connecting with the Earth Flame now. You don't have to do anything this time. Anyway, you are in the confinement area of the blood vein ring, and the communication between the Earth Flame and me is no longer difficult as from before. That's good since I can't use my strength either way for now, so I will not be able to help you. Alright, after using the Earth Flame's power to temper your body, you still have to be on the alert and try not to be too harsh because the Earth Flame is now equivalent to the Heaven Flame. Its heating power can easily burn you down into ashes. Remember this carefully, you have to carry on just one step at a time." "I got it." Shi Yang then moved his consciousness from the ice-cold flame toward the 10,000-year Earth Flame's direction in the blood vein ring, sending a clear message that he wanted to ask for the support of its heating power to temper his body. The Earth Flame could not send out a visual message, but it still displayed its excitement and joy. As soon as the Earth Flame showed its emotions, Shi Yang immediately realized that many scorching energy fibers had shot out from the blood vein ring and were now running along his finger toward the vessels inside his body. The torment from being burned by the burning fires had been spreading all over his body as his original face in being total comfort had now become fierce. He gritted his teeth and took a deep breath before urging the power of the burning fires so that it was dispersing into the vessels in his body. Right after the Earth Flame's burning fires had thoroughly penetrated into his vessels, the once bright translucent vessels were now turned into the brilliant colors of a fire crystal. At the same time, when the Earth Flame's burning forces had seeped into his body, a tiny trace of a black impurity which was instantly incinerated into ashes by the Earth Flame's burning fires appeared in the vessels under the constant incineration flame's burning fires and was then expelled through his pores. Absorbing a few impurities was inevitable when his vessels were developing, as the existence of impurities would have certainly affected the resilience and plasticity of his tendons and vessels. Normally, after having broken through the Earth Realm, the warriors would usually be so overwhelmed with joy that in the majority of time, they hadn't noticed the appearance of the impurities as their vessels were being enlarged. Even though they had known that the impurities would have also appeared while their vessels were being developed, they had no solutions to avoid it. However, these peculiar body refinement martial arts techniques could have easily taken advantage of the Heaven Flame's power to purify all the impurities that were left in Shi Yang's body, as well as enhance his vessel's resilience at the same time. Anyway, body refinement martial arts techniques were originally used to temper magical weapons since each magical weapon needed to have gone through thousands of tempering and purification processes for the purities to be removed so that the weapons would dominate the battlefield without being defeated by superior weapons. Alright, as the Earth Flame was pouring more and more scorching forces into his body, Shi Yang could feel that even his vessels would have burned down, so he hastily sent out a message to ask the Earth Flame to stop. Thus, the sweltering power of the burning fires from the Earth Flame was then silently ceased. Releasing a long sigh, Shi Yang stopped thinking and then put his mind in the ethereal realm, sustained his restful mind, and suffered the pain from the heat's movement inside his vessels as he gritted his teeth while being on the alert. He gradually relaxed and enlarged his vessels, receiving many streams of the profound qi that were massively flowing into his vessels like surging tides. After a while, his vessels had quietly absorbed a lot of the profound qi, which resulted in the decrease of the profound qi that were now moving inside the vessels. The profound qi also blended with the peculiar strength that had been refined by that mystery martial spirit. This strength seeped deeply into Shi Yang's vessels, amending and soothing his painfully cracked vessels a little bit. He could clearly feel this peculiar strength's existence which seemed to make his vessels sturdy and resilient. As long as these mysterious forces ran inside his vessels, he could instantly have a miraculous fantasy that his vessels would never break. The mystery martial spirit was marvelous indeed. Time quickly passed by. After an unknown duration of time, his vessels had stopped enlarging. Since right now, they were like a fire crystal that flared up the heart-stirring glowing red light. When the power of the burning fires had gradually vanished, and the red light also faded away, his vessels were finally recovering, little by little, as they regained their normal state. The profound chi halo on his belly shrank to the peach-like size, radiated sparkling light which contained powerful energy fluctuations. After going through this refinement, the profound chi had been increased 5 times more than before. Shi Yang's mind flickered as the profound chi was suddenly poured into his vessels, inducing the moving speed of the profound chi inside his vessels to be tripled so that the vessel's capacity for the profound chi had also increased significantly. Shi Yang then comfortably released a life seal. The handprint was sparkling with 7 beams of lights because it was now big as a basin, compared with the normal palm size from before. He suddenly launched the strike, zooming up above his head. As soon as this life seal was released, it pierced through the 10-meter-tall dune above his head like a magical weapon, breaking the dune, opening up the glowing red sky outside. The sky was as red as fire, the atmosphere was sweltering, and everything was the same as before. Shi Yang beamed a faint smile as the vessels on his feet suddenly produced an explosive sound, and his body then instantly moved like lightning, soaring aloft. Standing on the dune, bowing his head looking down at the sand crater, and Shi Yang saw that his illusory figure had gradually disappeared. After breaking through the earth flame, the speed of his martial arts performance would be several times faster than before, and thus his strength must have also skyrocketed as well. Previously, he hadn't been skillful in changing the phantoms. However, as he had just reached the earth realm, he could now arbitrarily perform it. Looking up to the sky, Shi Yang gradually restrained his joy as he then searched inside the blood vein ring for a while before taking out the soundstone, trying to make contact with Yang Mu's group. However, there was no response after his voice had been transmitted into the soundstone. It seemed that the soundstone wasn't working anymore. Shi Yang's face became grave while he tightly knitted his eyebrows. He then tried again to transmit his voice into the soundstone, hoping for a response to come out. Regretfully, it was unknown whether because of the situation or other reasons that the soundstone didn't have any reactions. Eventually, Shi Yang had to accept that he had lost contact with the Yang family's people. In the vast chasm battlefield, being an outsider as well as without the soundstone's intercourse, he had no way to find Yang Mu's group. In this immense desert, his soul consciousness couldn't detect any living fluctuations. There was no the sun nor the moon nor the stars. He couldn't find the direction to move forward, didn't know where the road ahead led. Shi Yang suddenly felt a little unconscious. A small crimson-red flame was quietly flying out of the blood vein ring, gathering on his chest, joyfully dancing and jumping. "You're going out again?" Shi Yang forced a smile and temporarily forgot all about the unknown directions. He then used his soul consciousness to send out a message to ask with excitement, "So? Do you probably know the direction?" I still don't know which way to go. If you have any suggestion, I will follow you." The 10,000-year earth flame beautifully flickered in the air like a fire wizard and then concernedly retrieved most of its flame power to reduce the heat that Shi Yang was unlikely to endure. After having received Shi Yang's message, the 10,000-year earth flame didn't waste more time and proactively led the way. Without the sun, the moon, and the stars, Shi Yang couldn't clearly identify the direction, though he just vaguely felt that the direction that the earth flame was heading towards was the hottest place in the desert. "Okay. I am going with you." Shi Yang revealed a smile and nodded. He joyfully followed the earth flame, heading with it towards the direction that it was leading him without overthinking. It was still early anyway, and even if he had to stay in this chasm battlefield for 3 more years, temporarily losing his direction was not a terrible thing. Thus, he was not too anxious. Under the red fire sky, in this endless desert, many beams of light flashed up in different areas at the same time. Besides Shi Yang, Cao Zhilan, Pan Zhe, Jiyu Ling Lung, Xie Kuei, Chu Yang Qing, He Qing Man, and almost 100 of the other warriors that had also arrived at this desert. Although they had entered that ancient formation as a group, for some reason, they had been transported to different areas. Pan Zhe, Cao Zhilan and more than 10 other warriors who didn't belong to the group of the 2 of them that had been moved to the same area. Meanwhile, Jiyu Ling Lung and Chu Yang Qing had been transferred to another totally different area. Meanwhile, Xie Kuei and He Qing Man, who were always together, had appeared in 2 different but close areas. They then quickly found each other. Many of the Earthrealm warriors, who had also been scattered in different areas of this immense desert, were mentally fatigued since they couldn't identify their coordinates because they didn't see the sun, the moon, or the stars. Like Shi Yang, those who had arrived at this peculiar space couldn't use the sound stone to make contact with anyone. In this place, the sensing forces of the soul consciousness were dramatically weakened, and thus their sensing powers were also very feeble. Therefore, once falling into this place as well as being unlikely to find other companions, when the warriors realized that both the sound stone and the sensing power was of no use, they were all in a daze like Shi Yang, without knowing any directions or where to go first in this boundless desert. The feeling of losing their purposes had dispirited them severely. After having arrived at this place, as those pursuers all realized that it was very hard to find their target as well as the way to go back, they all had a toneless look on their faces. Chapter 233, Killable. Chapter 233, Killable. Miss Cow, your spirit god martial spirit is always miraculous. Can you find out the location of Shi Yang and the Yang family from here? On a June, after having tried the Yin Jade as well as failing in releasing the spirit power, Panja dispiritedly asked Cao Zhilan in the end, setting his hope on this woman. Cao Zhilan's eyebrows slightly slammed together. She closed her eyes and silently sensed around for a while before opening her eyes again and gently shaking her head. I can only feel some special power fluctuations in a particular range. I think the Yang family's group has been out of the range right now, and thus I can't identify their direction. As what you said, staying here means that we all get lost. Panja shook his head and burst out laughing. This damn place doesn't even have the transfer formation to go back. Would we get stuck here forever? I don't want it either. Cao Zhilan's face was indifferent. Although we don't know how big this place is, we can continue searching around and probably find out some unusual things. The one who has created this place couldn't just leave no trace. I need a little bit time. Being in the same place with Miss Cow is my honor. Panja eagerly said, his eyes slightly brightened. Cao Zhilan did not reply and started searching for the unusual traces. A strange light flashed up again from between her beautiful eyes. Gee, what should we do now? Both He Ching Man and Xie Kuei were standing on a dune. There were the other 5 Earth-real warriors of the evil wonderland surrounding them. These 5 warriors, together with the other 2, were also lucky to be transferred to this place. The 5 warriors were besieging He Ching Man and Xie Kuei in silence, preventing the warriors of other groups from overhearing their conversation. Xie Kuei coldly harumphed and replied with a somber face and cold eyes, "You ask me, and then I ask whom? Gee, you weren't like that before." He Ching Man was a bit upset. Her beautiful face looked like she wanted to cry. "I remember that you have loved me a lot before. Why are you treating me like this now? Why?" Xie Kuei's look was cruel. "You don't know?" "Not at all." Under Xie Kuei's fierce gaze, He Ching Man. She was startled, timorously stepped back, but still tried to show her stoutness. "When we had arrived the Sky Sea, you insistently refused to come here. Since then, I figured out your innermost feelings that you are not heartfully with our evil wonderland. However, I still did not expect that you could recklessly act like this. The fight between you and Yang Shui inside the palace was just a game." Xie Kuei suddenly shouted after finishing his last sentence. He Ching Man's soft body trembled. "Brother, you could recognize it." "Yes." Xie Kuei laughed coldly. "Not only did I realize it, but I also knew that you did not even use the martial spirit. How much energy did you use? You think Cao Zhilan, Chu Yangqing, and Panja are all stupid? They just don't want to be nosy. If this is spread out, your honor and the evil wonderland's reputation will be destroyed. I don't want people to say that we, the evil wonderland, still have any relation with the Yang family. Ge, the relationship between Yang Shui and I have always been good. I could not kill him." He Ching Man shook her head, her eyes were red. "This is war. You are not allowed to let your personal feelings disturb you." Xie Kuei's face was cruel and wicked. "You did not use all of your energy on the last shot to defeat Shi Yang. You and Yang Shui might be close, but this Shi Yang, how come you still could not defeat him? I doubt if I should continue having you with us." Will it be a wrong decision or not? He Ching Man gritted her teeth as she could not deny it. I can let go of what happened, pretending that I didn't see it. But if it happens again, don't blame me for being heartless. Xia Kuei coldly continued. Remember, the evil Wonderland is involved in this war. From now on, every one of the Yang family is our mortal enemies. It will never change. You and I are both outstanding warriors of the evil Wonderland. Everything we are doing now is for ourselves. Do you understand? He Ching Man bowed her head and said nothing. You should think about it yourself. I've said what I should say. I hope you won't disappoint me next time. If it happens again, we are no more brother and sister, and I will be the first one who punishes you. Xia Kuei flipped his sleeves and left with a cold face. He considered the future of the evil Wonderland to be his. Catching and killing the Yang family were his compulsory oath. Anyway, with the importance of the evil Wonderland in the Kiara Sea, once the Yang family recovered its power and wanted to take revenge, the first ones they would kill were them. A stream of the red burning fires drew a beautiful curve. The flames sparkled everywhere, that fire halo moved faster and faster. Behind the red halo of firelight was a huge figure, which looked like a dead spirit and was as fast as lightning. He followed the halo of firelight and kept the distance of 10 meters from that halo all the time. While the earth flame was flying fast in the air, the supreme burning fire power uncontrollably spread out. Shi Yang also felt unbearable with that burning power. The 10-meter distance was the maximum that Shi Yang could bear, the limit he could do. If shortening the distance with the earth flame, that burning firepower would make him hardly breathe. Because the burning fires penetrated into the profound qi in his body, it proactively released the opposing forces to resist, which would consume a lot of his profound qi and exhaust his body very fast. Therefore, 10 meters was the most suitable distance for him to break through to the earth realm. Shi Yang felt that the forces inside his body had gone through an earth-shaking transformation. This change was not simply an increase in the number of the forces but also an enhancement of his knowledge, his energy, his profound qi. Everything had jumped to the new realm. He could now skillfully control his profound qi. His soul consciousness seemed to be present in each flow of the profound qi. When his mind flickered, the profound qi from every vessel of his body would quickly spread out and transformed into a shape that he wanted. The profound qi stopped struggling and became easily controllable. As long as his mind could imagine and his spirit could take control, the profound qi would be able to condense and transform into many marvelous desired forms immediately, no matter if they were birds, trees, nunchakus, weapons, etc. The bird which was created by the profound qi could deliberately fly in the sky, plants and trees could be vivacious, weapons could be incredibly vigorous and firm. The earth realm was a process of clearly understanding the forces inside the body. In the beginning, the profound qi was only one of many energies inside his body. Now, the profound qi became an expansion of his body, a part of his body, the core of the power, and also the Holy Spirit on which he could rely. Is it still far? Shi Yang sent out the message while his body was quickly gliding on the sand. He suddenly stalled, took out some refined pills and swallowed them all. After this, he continued moving forward but with the slower speed while both gliding and waiting for the pill's therapeutic effects to spread out all over his body. In the chasm battlefield, refined pills were the simplest and the most efficient way to restore the profound qi. Anyway, the sky and earth spiritual auras here were extremely diluted. It should take 10 times longer to recover the profound qi here than in other areas. As soon as the earth flame realized Shi Yang's speed was decreasing, it also slowed down, transmitting its happiness and eagerness. Is it very fast? Shi Yang stopped and released his soul consciousness to search around carefully. His soul consciousness was like rippling waves which were hindered by this strange space. They could not move as comfortably as they were outside. The spreading speed of his soul consciousness was also slower several times. The covering range was also smaller dozens of times. Oh! There are traces of beings. Suddenly, the ambiguous living vibrations appeared from the remote area where his soul consciousness was exploring. These vibrations evidently belonged to the Earth Realm warriors. Shi Yang's spirit was convulsive. His instinct told him that it was probably Yang Mu's group. Or even if it wasn't Yang Mu, as long as they are adventurers, he still could exchange information, asking them where he was and how to get out of here. It was unknown how long and how far he had been following the earth flame in this area. He had doubts about this place and was lonely for so long. He wanted to talk to someone. You come back here first. Slow down a little bit. I will go over to see some people. Shi Yang sent out a message. The earth flame twisted involuntarily, and slowly got into the blood vein ring afterward. The earth flame was the heaven flame, which was incredibly powerful, but it's still not evolutional yet. Even if it finished the evolution, there were still many other existences that could dominate it. Otherwise, the ice-cold flame shouldn't have been imprisoned many times. There were many miraculous precious treasures in this world which prevented the heaven flame from fleeing. For example, he could take advantage of the soul-gathering pearl to make the soul of that demon master separate from the body. There were also some other miraculous treasures which could capture and confine the heaven flames. Therefore, the earth flame was safe when staying inside the blood vein ring. After the earth flame had gone inside the blood vein ring, Shi Yang retrieved his soul consciousness that he had released. He then followed the guiding direction of his soul consciousness and kept moving toward the target. After half an hour, Shi Yang quickly moved behind a dune all of a sudden. He extruded his head out of the dune while squinting and looking toward some people in the distance who were approaching to where he was now. Shi Yang could easily see people coming from behind the dune. However, as the distance was far and he only extruded his head out, it is hard to see things. Shi Yang was not hasty and still kept waiting. Finally, he recognized a beautiful figure in a firing red armor among those people. Although he couldn't see her appearance, he was confident that prominent appealing body was He Ching Man. After having realized He Ching Man, Shi Yang fixed his eyes on the other people behind her. He then recognized Xie Kuei according to his old memory. After attentively watching for a long time as well as releasing his soul consciousness once again, he could identify Cao Zhilan, Pan Zhe, Jiyu Linglong, Chu Yang Qing, those who were the famous outstanding warriors on the combat list. They did not accompany Xie Kuei's group. His soul consciousness was like the heaven eyes which helped him gradually realize the real abilities of that group of people. Shi Yang slowly retracted his head, activated the finger gun to bury himself under the dune. He slowed down his breaths and started to hide all of his body's auras. There were total 11 Earthrealm warriors including Xie Kuei and He Ching Man and no third sky of the Earthrealm warrior. I can kill them. Chapter 234, Defeat You. Chapter 234, Defeat You. The sky above the endlessly immense desert was red. It was sweltering. A line of 11 warriors was slowly moving in the scorching desert. Xie Kuei was leading while He Ching Man lagged far behind from him. The warriors of the evil wonderland gathered around Xie Kuei, ignoring He Ching Man. As they seemed to know who was going to be the future master of the evil wonderland, they decided to follow Xie Kuei after the dispute between Xie Kuei and He Ching Man without making any attempts in mediating the conflict between Xie Kuei and He Ching Man. He Ching Man with her appealing body was far behind alone. Her gorgeous face looked worried. Remember, in the fight with the Yangs this time, if He Ching Man continues not using her full power, you guys can detain her so that she won't be our encumbrance. While leading with a cold and gloomy face, Xie Kuei lowered his voice commanding the following warriors of the evil wonderland. Yes, sir. They nodded and quietly looked at He Ching Man far behind with meaningful eyes. He Ching Man's beautiful eyes had a dull look. She apparently knew that her fellows kept their watchful eyes on her, but she couldn't do anything. At this time, she regretted not leaving the chasm battlefield and returning to the Kiara Sea sooner. She did not want to be part of this anymore. However, no one could find a way back. Going back alone without being sure about the direction was dumb. Although she was in a dead-end situation and knew that Xie Kuei and his fellows wouldn't be nice to her, she had no choice but follow them. A patrol of 11 warriors was moving forward to a dune. 5 warriors of the evil wonderland were closely following Xie Kuei and considered Xie Kuei's command as their mission. The other warriors who belonged to the Penglai Divine Land and the Heaven Lake Divine Land did not talk too much either. They silently followed Xie Kuei, hoping that Siekue would help them find their other fellows and a way to get out of this devilish desert. Boom boom. Suddenly, a big explosive sound came up from the dune in front of them. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. A screeching tornado suddenly appeared and quickly approached them. Golden sand engulfed the entire sky, 6 massive whirls completely covered this area. No one could see anything in this thick golden sand mist. A warrior was pulled into the howling tornado and was twisted by the golden sand without being able to move. Who is it? Siekue shouted. A small long snow sword instantly emerged from his wrist. The hilt of this sword suddenly generated a dazzling yellow halo. As soon as Siekue launched a slash, many different points of light spread out from the inside that dazzling golden halo, forming a beautiful curve, going into the dune in front of him. Bang! A figure emerged from the dune all of a sudden and quickly dashed towards Siekue, crossing those yellow lights. Shiyang. Siekue's face slightly changed. He suddenly burst out laughing coldly and said, "It's good that you are here. I was worried I could not find you. You voluntarily come out. You really want to die." Right after finishing his words, Siekue's body slightly leaped up, retreated into the dune and disappeared without a trace. After Siekue's disappearance, another warrior was tightly tied up by the tornado that was formed by the gravitational field in the desert. The convoluted force in this field did not allow that warrior to move. He could only scream out from the inside of that tornado while the profound chi speed in his body was getting slower as well. The screech of the howling wind came up. He Ching Man, who lagged far behind, also lunged towards Shiyang like a strong wind. There were full of complicated emotions in He Ching Man's eyes. However, she wasn't hesitant to launch the attacks toward Shiyang. As soon as her appealing body leaped up, many sharp wind blades plunged out and created strange screechy sounds in the air. At the same time, Siekue extruded his head out of the dune where he was hiding. His snow sword discharged a dazzling yellow streak of light. An earth dragon made of golden sand suddenly flew out from the dune. Many golden sand walls also extruded next to Shiyang. Shiyang, my martial spirit can control soils and sand. Killing you here is as easy as turning my hand over. Siekue coldly smiled and continued, "You should have died sooner. Who are you to have Xinyang's attention? Only I, who is the future master of the evil wonderland, deserve to have a beautiful lady like Xinyang. You don't deserve her." Shiyang was standing motionlessly with a cold face in the middle of the golden sand. His look was cold-hearted. He Ching Man's wind blades darted towards Shiyang, striking his face. However, he kept standing motionlessly. After all of the wind blades had pierced through Shiyang's body, He Ching Man realized that they had shot his shadow only. Siekue's eyes shrank with fear. He recognized that his golden sand earth dragon, together with those walls, had made Shiyang's shadow to be the attacking target. The real Shiyang had already stayed away to avoid the attack. "I wanted to fight with Siekue only, right inside this dune. You should not be involved." After Shiyang raised his eyebrows and flickered his consciousness, an invisible gravitational field swept over from his right and instantly detained He Ching Man's sexy body. At the same time, another gravitational field silently approached Siekue and also tightly tied him up all of a sudden without giving him time to take precautions. Activating the electric shift, Shiyang plunged to Siekue as fast as the lightning. "As soon as my legs touch the ground, this thing of yours doesn't affect me." Siekue frigidly laughed while his body went back into the dune again in a blink, escaping from the confinement of the gravitational field. Siekue had 2 kinds of martial arts, the tree spiritual martial and the earth spiritual martial. As long as his 2 legs remained on the ground, he could comfortably hide inside the earth. It was not easy to defeat him except that one was capable of killing him after 1 strike only. Although Siekue had already disappeared into the sand, his voice still came up from underneath. "Shiyang, I will cut your head off. I will keep it until I see Xinyang again. I will take your head and give it to her. Is it interesting?" Shiyang was standing on the dune with an ignorant face while quietly urging his negative forces. Right after the 3 big demon mirages which were condensed by the negative forces suddenly appeared, they immediately dashed towards the warriors who had been tied up by the tornadoes. Shiyang stood still on the spot, closed his eyes, seeming to wait for something. Out of Shi Yang's expectation, Xie Kuei didn't care to save his fellows who had been in the confinement of the gravitational field. Instead, he still stayed hidden inside the dune and quickly moved to Shi Yang's feet in silence. A cruel smile beamed out from the corner of his mouth. A harsh light flashed up and instantly disappeared in his eyes. No matter how Xie Kuei could imagine, he would never believe that Shi Yang had successfully formed the Sea of Consciousness. In a particular range, no living movements could escape from the vision of his soul consciousness. Xie Kuei kept himself completely hidden inside the dune without exposing any part of his body. Therefore, it wasn't easy for Shi Yang to catch and kill him, although Shi Yang could identify his location. However, if Xie Kuei wanted to attack Shi Yang, he had to expose himself, and this was a good chance for Shi Yang. Boom boom boom. A big sound reverberated right under Shi Yang's feet. A bunch of earth clubs emerged from underneath the sand. Shi Yang's body kept swaying and swinging in the middle of those earth clubs and then suddenly cast out toward one direction. Inside the dune, Xie Kuei quickly moved to the place where Shi Yang would land and patiently awaited. As soon as Shi Yang descended, he would instantly burst through the sand and launch one single powerful strike to kill him. While Shi Yang was still in the air, many energetic seals, one after one, were condensed and released from between his two hands. The life seals and death seals had already stacked over each other even before his feet touched the ground. The life and death seal pounded straight down on the ground. Boom! A terrified explosive sound came up from the place where Shi Yang was going to land. When the explosion resounded, a figure was knocked straight out from inside the dune. Even that snow sword was also struck away that figure's hand by the great life and death seal. After Shi Yang had landed, he stretched out his hands grabbing the hilt of Xie Kuei's sword and then activated the electric shift dashing towards Xie Kuei like an electrical current. The corners of Xie Kuei's mouth were full of blood. After having been hit by one full power strike of the life and death seal, his body was injured. If there wasn't the protection of the earth armor, his body's system should have had completely crushed into ashes by this life and death seal. Seeing Shi Yang approaching as fast as the lightning, Xie Kuei hurriedly used his old trick going back inside the dune. As soon as one of his feet touched the ground, Shi Yang quickly glided over and lifted his left foot, stepping on Xie Kuei's right foot. Xie Kuei felt extremely painful on his right foot before he was about to disappear underneath the sand. Although he still tried to hide into the sand, he now realized that the sword had pierced through his other foot. Run! You still want to run? Shi Yang's eyes looked cruel, and his face was brutal. He was staring at Xie Kuei while coldly laughing. You. Xie Kuei's face dramatically changed. Shi Yang was still firmly stepping on his left foot. The sword pierced through Shi Yang's left foot first and then through Xie Kuei's right foot. Their left and right feet both stuck together. To prevent Xie Kuei from hiding into the sand, Shi Yang had daringly speared the sword through his right foot. Boom boom! As their feet had been pierced through together, Xie Kuei and Shi Yang were now in the face-to-face position. The forces inside their bodies furiously churned up, and their martial techniques were ready to be launched. A drastic fight was about to happen. With one foot being tightly speared through, the other foot being heavily stepped on by Shi Yang's foot, Xie Kuei had no way to make any moves. At the same time, Shi Yang's petrification martial spirit started to be activated. Shi Yang's entire body became as hard as iron. The second sky of rampage appeared once again. The number of forces inside his body was doubled just in a blink. Boom! Energetic seals violently exploded between Shi Yang and Xie Kuei. Faint yellow lights emitted around Xie Kuei's body while his two hands formed an invisible seal which created miraculous rippling waves outside his chest to protect himself from Shi Yang's attack. Cut my head off! Shi Yang displayed his fierce look while freely releasing the tremendous power of the second sky of rampage. The life seals and death seals were constantly striking Xie Kuei's chest and destroying all of Xie Kuei's opposing forces. Shi Yang's petrification martial spirit, his refinement body, and his body's sturdiness were some things that Xie Kuei could have never acquired. In the second sky of rampage state, the forces that Shi Yang could gather was far more than that inside Xie Kuei's body. Therefore, in the frontal fight like this, Xie Kuei was the only one who was crushed and destroyed as he had no remaining defensive power. Explode! Shi Yang crazily shouted. The life seals and death seals stacked up and struck Xie Kuei's head altogether. Xie Kuei's head exploded after this strike. Skull and blood scattered everywhere. He died right away. Chapter 235, Today is better than before. Chapter 235, Today was better than before. When Xie Kuei's head exploded, a flock of warriors inside those tornadoes was also swallowed up and devoured by the three demon mirages. After gathering the negative feelings, the three demon mirages inside the gravitational field could submerge those Earthrealm warriors in the craziness after only one strike and then easily took their lives. The ability of these Earthrealm warriors of the Kiara Sea was no exceptional. They did not have the martial spirits nor secret weapons nor peculiar defensive forces, and the gravitational field was also confining them. They were just like a chamois waiting for being butchered. Xie Kuei's soft body without the head fell. A stream of spiritual power flowed out and went into Shi Yang's meridians. Swoosh! While one of his hands grabbed the big snow-white sword and drew it out from his foot, Shi Yang looked at Xie Kuei's body without the head and cruelly said with a sarcastic tone, "You dared to fight hand-to-hand with me. You deserve to have a terrible death like this." With the petrification martial spirit and the immortal martial spirit continually being practiced and tempered, the sturdiness of Shi Yang's body was not something that other warriors could ever imagine. None of the same level warriors could defeat Shi Yang in a hand-to-hand fight. With the effect of the immortal martial spirit, his pierced foot started recovering little by little. Shi Yang urged the electric shift again. He went into the tornadoes, standing inside them. His mystery martial spirit absorbed all the spiritual powers which were massively flowing out from the dead warriors' corpses. The gravitational field which was confining He Ching Man shrank all of a sudden. As the golden sand had blocked her vision, she didn't know what had happened. Thus, as soon as she saw Shi Yang, she instantly launched the attacks again. Enough! Shi Yang frowned and shouted. Everyone is dead. You still want to fight? Everyone is dead. He Ching Man's beautiful eyes were confused. Where is my brother? You are not capable of defeating him. His realm is higher than yours, he can also easily hide into the sand. You are not his opponent. Are you talking about Xie Kuei? Shi Yang pointed at the body without the head in the distance. He is over there. Except for you and me, there is no one alive here. He Ching Man was frightened. Her prominent body quickly flew to Xie Kuei's body. Ah! He Ching Man terrifyingly screamed out loud with fear. She dazedly stood beside Xie Kuei's corpse, covering her mouth, her beautiful eyes were full of sadness. She lowered her voice and said, "He is dead, everyone is dead. The future hope of the evil wonderland, the pride of being the future master of the next generation has gone just like this." He Ching Man was stunned as if she was facing a fatal attack. She mumbled to herself with her shocked face. Shi Yang wasn't in a hurry to leave yet. Instead, he stood motionlessly, releasing his soul consciousness to sense the living movements around. Shi Yang didn't know that Xie Kuei and He Ching Man had separated from Cao Ji Lan before arriving here. He had thought that Cao Ji Lan's fellows were nearby. In this fight, Shi Yang had killed everyone except for He Ching Man, but he had also consumed a lot of his power. Although he was still in the second sky of rampage state, he would quickly exhaust when the counterattack spread out. If Cao Ji Lan was nearby, he had to immediately retreat as he couldn't continue fighting with his current status. He closed his eyes, released his soul consciousness and silently sensed around for a while. After being certain that there were no living movements, he felt assured and slowly walked to He Ching Man. Where are other people? Who? He Ching Man lifted her head up, bewilderedly looked at Shi Yang with a dark face. Where are Cao Ji Lan and Panja? Shi Yang asked again. I don't know. He Ching Man shook her head. We were pushed out from that ancient formation and were separated. You are the first one we met since then. Shi Yang contemplated for a while before calmly speaking. Okay, I know. See you again next time. You, where are you going? He Ching Man shouted. I don't know. Shi Yang stopped for a while, looking at her. Our standpoints are conflicting. You better return to the Kiara Sea. Being alone in the chasm battlefield is very dangerous. You've killed my brother, I have to avenge him. He Qing Man sighed. You've killed him, you can also take my life. Shi Yang, I couldn't imagine how come your power could have improved that much in such a short time. I remember that when you were in the Black Rock Island, your cultivation base was only the second sky of the disaster realm. If Yang Mu didn't save you that time, maybe you. Shi Yang contemplated without saying a word. All of them are dead. I am the only one surviving. Tell me, what others would say when they see me later. He Qing Man revealed a sad smile. Shi Yang shook his head and released a sigh. You should not go to the chasm battlefield. I did not want to go there either. He Qing Man gently shook her head and reluctantly said, it was my master's command. If I didn't go, it meant I didn't obey the order. Not only would I have troubles but the He family would also be involved. You stand in between, it was not easy. Shi Yang's face was astounded. Maybe Yang Mu's fellows are not here. Perhaps I am alone in this place. Your group of pursuers might be on the way to come here. Currently, no one knows the way out of this immense desert or no clues of where to search. We still should separate soon. If others find you being with me at the same place, I am afraid it is not good for you. Even if they don't see you and me at the same location, it is still uncomfortable to face them. He Qing Man miserably smiled. When we were outside the palace, Cao Jilan and Pan Zhe already recognized the fake fight between Yang Shui and me. If my brother and my fellows were still alive, they would have said nothing. But now I am alone, I don't know how those guys will treat me. Shi Yang knitted his brows in silence. He suddenly said after a while, anyway, because you and they are allies, they may provoke you, but they will not kill you. Don't worry, having regard for Yang Shui and Xin Yang, I will not harm you if I see you next time. I need to go now. Take care of yourself. After speaking, Shi Yang turned around and quickly left without letting Ha Qing Man have a chance to say anything more. After Shi Yang had absorbed all of the powers of total 11 warriors including Xie Kuei, his meridians currently started refining, and powerful negative feelings also started spreading out. Perhaps he would be immersed in the craziness and lose his consciousness again. Once losing his consciousness, he only had two options, either finding a woman to give vent or binding himself and suffering the pain alone. The relationship among He Qing Man, Yang Shui, and Xia Xinyan was superb. Because of Yang Shui, He Qing Man had been mistrusted and already sacrificed a lot. Shi Yang couldn't consider her the target to whom he would give vent. Moreover, as He Qing Man belonged to the evil wonderland, he could not completely trust her. He couldn't let himself be unconscious next to that lady. Very dangerous. Leaving He Qing Man, Shi Yang quickly moved towards the hottest direction in the desert as fast as the lightning. While moving forward in the desert, he could apparently feel that the pain on his foot was fading away, and the wound was healing little by little. Inside his meridians, the spiritual qi of Xie Kuei's fellows was refining rapidly. Different kinds of negative feelings started spreading out. Shi Yang was trying to restrain himself. It was unknown whether because he was entering the earth realm or because his nerves were getting stronger that the negative feelings which were spreading out from his meridians still didn't drive him crazy yet. It was still bearable. Except for the heavy breaths, the reddened face, and a little pain on his head, the negative feelings did not pull him into the endlessly deep abyss nor made him unconscious this time. A long time after that, familiar peculiar forces spread out from inside his meridians. 720 meridians in his entire body altogether released the energy that eased his mind. With this energy moving inside the body, he felt comfortably warm as if he was soaking in a hot spring. This time, the petrification martial spirit and the immortal martial spirit didn't take those peculiar forces. Instead, all of those forces torrentially poured into his heart. The star martial spirit. Shi Yang's pupils shrank. He couldn't help but curse and immediately used his mind to control these peculiar forces' intention in changing the direction. Regretfully, before he could do something, his heart had already released a powerful attraction force to absorb the strange powers completely. He suddenly stopped. Gritting his teeth, Shi Yang silently sensed his body for a while. He then discovered that even though more and more star lights appeared in his heart, there wasn't any transformation occurring. The star martial spirit in his heart couldn't gather the star powers, and he didn't know how to urge the star martial spirit either. Thus, the peculiar forces pouring into his heart was such a waste. Anyway, before he could obtain the controlling method related to the star martial spirit of the Three Gods sect, the star martial spirit was helpless in increasing his forces. Whoosh! After seeing no one beside Shi Yang, the earth flame flew out from the blood vein ring again without Shi Yang's command. Turning into a dazzling flame, the earth flame started leading the way, eagerly flying toward the hottest direction in this desert. Shi Yang reluctantly followed it. He had no target nor direction to seek in this desert. Therefore, following the earth flame was not a bad choice anyway. The earth flame might lead to an unknown way out. Perhaps the area that excited the earth flame could have something which also surprised him. With this thought in his mind, Shi Yang followed the earth flame in silence, although he didn't know what was awaiting him. Time quickly passed. He didn't know how long he had been following the earth flame in this desert, but he had already taken the refined pills 3 times because of his profound chi being dried up. He had used all of his profound chi in moving in this desert, and he also had to replenish it 3 times. Shi Yang guessed he could have been going around in this desert for more than half a month. This strange place had neither the sun nor the moon nor the star nor the darkness, except for the glowing red sky. After a long journey, he had shortened the distance between him and the hottest point. The earth flame was getting more excited. Shi Yang could even feel its soul shivering. However, Shi Yang was getting weaker. The closer he got to the hottest point, the more uncomfortable he could feel. Under the terrifying heat, even though the heaven flames had tempered his body, he still had to use more of his profound chi to resist. After having kept running like this for another while, when he nearly couldn't sustain any more, the earth flame joyfully shouted eventually. Shi Yang saw the place for which the earth flame had been longing. Chapter 236, The Sun Refined Spirit. Chapter 236, The Sun Refined Spirit. A significant angular meteorite plugged in the desert. That meteorite was generating beautiful lights. The whole object was glowing red, emitting terrifying sun's burning fires. The sunlight was too robust and dazzling that people could hardly open their eyes. The meteorite was like a small mountain. The majority of it was buried deep inside the dune, and only 1/3 of it exposed. Blinding red light was discharging from the meteorite, and its scorching fire power engulfed the entire area. The water inside Shi Yang's body had evaporated a lot. If an ordinary person came here, that person would be burnt and quickly become a desiccated corpse in only around 1 hour. Although Shi Yang had gone through the annealing process of the earth flame many times, he still could feel the severe pressure which made him hardly breathe when facing this terrifying heating power of this meteorite. There was a mysterious movement coming out from inside the meteorite. While watching the meteorite from a distance, Shi Yang immediately felt that his sea of consciousness was agitated non-stop. As he was affected by the strange power inside the meteorite, he was nearly unable to control himself, heading into that meteorite. Shi Yang believed that once he came closer to the meteorite, as soon as his body slightly touched the burning fires next to the meteorite, he would immediately turn into ashes. Not to mention the Earthrealm warriors, even the body of a Godrealm master was not sure to remain intact under that meteorite's burning fires. Shi Yang did not dare to take a risk, he just silently watched the huge meteorite from a distance. The 1,000-year earth flame had soon flown out. When he was still startled, the earth flame headed towards the meteorite and disappeared into it. Shi Yang was surprised. When he tried to contact with the earth flame, he realized that once he released his soul consciousness, the meteorite instantly emitted a terrifying power that violently stirred up his sea of consciousness, forcing him to retreat. How come? The ice-cold flame's message from the blood vein ring suddenly came out. It had been a long time since the ice-cold flame had communicated with him. As soon as it appeared, it shot out a series of icy power. The icy power quickly surged up in Shi Yang's body, spreading out to every corner of his body. Under the effect of the icy power, Shi Yang's emotion and reckless body soon stabilized. Oh, you can release powers? Yeah, this devilish ring knows you are in trouble, so it has loosened its restraint a little bit. The ice-cold flame replied and kept silent again. It was seemingly releasing its spiritual power to observe around. Not long after that, the ice-cold flame sent out a surprising feeling. The sun-refined spirit. What? Shi Yang was astonished. What did you say? That red meteorite is the sun-refined spirit from the center of the sun. It is the precious heat of the universe, the ice-cold flame explained. The sun-refined spirit can only be found in the center of the sun. It is the core firepower of the sun. As you have practiced some heating techniques, if you can have the sun-refined spirit, your power will increase immensely. Is it useful for the 1,000-year earth flame? Not only useful. This sun-refined spirit is enough for it to have a quick breakthrough to a soul completion and a strong firepower which is not less than mine. Once the earth flame absorbed the sun-refined flames in the sun-refined spirit and fused with its burning fires, its living form will immediately change. Shi Yang was panicked. What? Anything else? The ice-cold flame hesitated a bit before continuing. There seems to be something hidden inside the sun-refined spirit. It has an extremely violent vibration which was as strong as the powerful soul attack of a God Realm master. There is something inside. Shi Yang got surprised with his eyes and mouth wide opened. The sun-refined spirit is obviously from the sun in the sky. How come there is something inside? Would it come from the sun? It is not necessary from the sun. The ice-cold flame contemplated for a while. According to the legend, warriors who reach the true God realm can be considered gods. They have a superpower that can destroy the earth. Their bodies can break all the restraints in the world and fly out to the sky. It means the true God realm warriors can go to the sun. Go to the sun? Shi Yang's eyes brightened. According to you, although the thing inside the sun-refined spirit is not from the sun, it is still in the hands of the true God realm warriors? Yes, that's what I meant. Shi Yang didn't say anything more. From 100 meters far away, staring at that sun-refined spirit which was releasing dazzling burning fires and feeling his eyes hurt, Shi Yang slowly closed his eyes and mumbled to himself, "Is it impossible to come closer?" Although the earth flame had tempered his body and there was a lot of burning fire's power of the earth flame inside his body, he still hardly endured the scorching sun-refined flames surrounding the sun-refined spirit. From 100 meters away from the sun-refined spirit, he could feel his body blistering hot already. If he reached the sun-refined spirit, perhaps he would be burnt to ashes. "Do you want to come closer?" The ice-cold flame seemed to know his intention and asked. "With your ability alone, you are unable to come closer. However, with my help, it is still possible." "What are you waiting for then?" Shi Yang quietly shouted. Right after that, he could immediately feel the freezing icy power. Under the icy power, his body got frozen in just a blink. A solid ice spread out his entire body. It was like an ice armor wrapping him around. Under the ice shield's protection, Shi Yang realized that the heat from the sun-refined spirit had disappeared. He didn't have the feeling that his body was burning anymore. Thump, thump, thump. With the ice armor, Shi Yang was more daring, moving step by step towards the sun-refined spirit. However, he still didn't dare to go too fast. 50 meters. 30 meters. 20 meters. 10 meters, Shi Yang suddenly stopped. From 10 meters away, a bunch of scorching sun-refined flames flew around the sun-refined spirit without dispersing. The sun-refined spirit was very close to him now. If he moved a little more, he could reach it, however, but he didn't know what was going to happen. "You should not come closer. That is enough." The ice-cold flame warned him. "Close your eyes as well. You will be blind if you keep staring at it for a long time." Shi Yang stammered in fear and hurried to close his eyes. From the distance of 10 meters, he wanted to release his soul consciousness to communicate with the earth flame again. If you don't want to be attacked by the sun-refined spirit, you better not release the soul consciousness. Once your soul consciousness is released, the thing inside that will immediately realize and attack it. I've also recognized that the forces discharging from inside the sun-refined spirit can damage your soul much more terribly than I can. In other words, you are not able to resist it. Shi Yang immediately stopped releasing his soul consciousness after being warned by the ice-cold flame. So, what should we do now? We can do nothing except for waiting for the earth flame. Only the earth flame is not affected by the sun-refined spirit. The earth flame's living form is unique. Since it dares to go closer, it is probably not afraid of the thing inside. Wait for the earth flame to come back or until it proactively contacts you. Except for that, don't do anything. As Shi Yang could do nothing, he closed his eyes, standing motionlessly 10 meters away from the sun-refined spirit and waiting. He did not dare to release his soul consciousness either, only used his body to feel the scorching sun power from the sun-refined spirit. Oh! Many streams of burning sun power from inside the sun-refined spirit were rolling towards Shi Yang. Seeming to be under the control of something, they quietly went into Shi Yang's chest and poured into Shi Yang's heart. After having received the sun power, his heart suddenly projected a red light. The starlights above his heart started brightening little by little and seemed to begin moving around above his heart as if it was some miraculous unpredictable formation that was completely out of Shi Yang's expectation. This. The ice-cold flame was extremely astonished. The icy power inside the blood vein ring became weakened. Many sun powers went into Shi Yang's chest and quickly poured into Shi Yang's heart, which might result in some transformation inside his heart. The burning fire's power was getting more intense while his heart was able to receive more and more burning fire's powers, becoming incredibly dazzling. Blinding sunlights from Shi Yang's heart were suddenly shot out. Shi Yang instantly became a light generator. His entire body generated many powerful lights. What's happening? The ice-cold flame didn't seem to understand anything. It hurriedly communicated with Shi Yang. Why can your heart absorb sunlights? The star martial spirit, I got it. The sun is also a star. The sun power is also considered as the power of stars. It should be it. While the sun power kept rolling into his heart, Shi Yang felt as if he was soaking in a boiling oil pot. This kind of pain was indescribable. That was why he couldn't even communicate with the ice-cold flame. He could only passively suffer the pain, letting the sun power flow into his heart. A bunch of mysterious whorls appeared on his chest at this moment. This peculiar black formula belonged to the Three Gods sect and started activating. The existence of these three whorls attracted more and more sun powers. They kept pouring into his heart with the speed that was getting crazily faster and faster. Boom! His body suddenly burst into flame. The scorching solar refined flame started burning inside his body. The ice-cold flame hardly communicated with Shi Yang. It knew that if it let the sun powers burn Shi Yang to ashes, Shi Yang's soul would never be liberated, and it would obviously deadly vanish in the end. If Shi Yang died, the blood vein ring would have no master anymore. Thus, it would be confined forever, which was not the result that the ice-cold flame wanted to see. The heaven icy power was getting denser and suddenly spread out from the blood vein ring. The ice-cold flame quickly released its power. It didn't regret to use the billion-year trained icy power to help Shi Yang resist the solar-refined flame inside his body. Thanks to a right amount of the icy power that had absorbed into Shi Yang's body, the solar-refined flames have immediately neutralized afterward. One of Shi Yang's eyes shot out the burning fires, and the other projected the icy power. His entire body entered an extremely strange state. Chapter 237 – An Extraordinary Treasure. Chapter 237 – An Extraordinary Treasure. The sun-refined spirit inside the dune continuously shot out stronger sun powers. Some aura seemed to be drawing the solar-refined flames, creating a state of chaos. 10 meters away from the sun-refined spirit, the flames were wrapping around a big and sturdy body which was enduring the terrifying fight between the sun power and the icy power. At this moment, the burning strength of the solar-refined flame and the icy power of the ice-cold flame were battling inside his body, causing his body to fall into the flame-ice collision state. His body changed from being freezingly chilled to uncomfortable burning just in a second. His sea of consciousness also became chaotic. A lot of negative feelings from his meridians spread out uncontrollably. Shi Yang did not know what was going on, he could only passively suffer everything. The struggle between the solar refined flame and the ice-cold flame was still taking place inside his body. While these two powers continued attacking each other, his heart was still absorbing the sun powers from the sun-refined spirit. Shi Yang's sea of consciousness was a little chaotic. His conscious also became ambiguous. Shi Yang gradually slipped into the unconsciousness without knowing who he was. Meanwhile, the negative feelings also started diffusing inside his body. Different kinds of negative feelings became rebellious, stirring up in his head, making him almost lose himself. Under the red clouds, a big figure with full of burning fires and two red eyes raised his head up to the sky and roared out loud as if he wanted to destroy the universe. Horrible scream hovered around the desert and could be heard from more than 10 miles away. Who is screaming? In the desert, a line of warriors was lurching aimlessly. They all looked extremely exhausted. A girl with an elegant body was leading this group. Her eyebrows suddenly slammed together while she quickly turned around and looked toward the direction of the scream. After a while, she shouted out loud, "Jiyu Xiao Mai, I think the guy who is screaming should be your enemy." Cao Zilan's beautiful face was very strange. This group was Cao Zilan, Pan Zhe, Jiyu Linglong, and Chu Yangqing. In the beginning, they had separated, but they had found each other again during the time going around in the desert. After having seen each other again, they voluntarily gathered and stayed together in this desert to search for the Yang family's warriors. However, no matter how hard they had searched, how many times Cao Zilan had used her spirit god martial spirit, they were still like the blinds in this desert, impossible to find a way out. Currently, even Cao Zilan was also a little unconscious. While they were all exhausted and didn't know what to do, they suddenly heard a terrifying scream. Cao Zilan's sharp sense power could immediately identify the person from that scream, thus, they instantly became excited again. "Ha ha ha, we finally identify the target," Jiyu Linglong urged. "What are we waiting for then? We should kill him right away." Pan Zhe smiled, nodded his head, and said, "We have been walking for a long time and been in this desert for almost half a year. The sooner we kill the Yangs, the sooner we can get out of here." "Get out of here soon?" Cao Zilan laughed and glanced at Pan Zhe. "I don't know what miraculous solution do you have to get us out of here. I think that guy is the key point. He should be the first one who came here, he probably knows the way out." Pan Zhe scratched his head, embarrassedly said with a faint smile, "It is not right. Isn't it that we already have Miss Cao? I believe that relying on Miss Cao's spirit god martial spirit, we will certainly find out the way to get out of this desert sooner or later." "I don't believe so." Cao Zilan shook her head, her face became serious. "Shi Yang's direction is scorching. I don't think everyone can adapt to that hot temperature. If I want to go there, I have to use my secret treasure. You yourselves should carefully consider it." Everyone's face changed immediately. After a short pause, Jiyu Linglong and other people slightly nodded their heads and then turned around to remind their fellows to be careful and not to freely move forward to avoid being killed by the hot burning fires. After having assigned their fellows, Pan Zhe, Jiyu Linglong, Chu Yangqing caught up with Cao Zilan and quickly moved towards Shi Yang's direction. After a while, the four people of Cao Zilan, Jiyu Linglong, Chu Yangqing, and Pan Zhe appeared at the distance of 500 meters away from the sun-refined spirit. From 500 meters away, because of the great and dazzling sunlight of the sun-refined spirit, the four of them could neither see Shi Yang nor know what was going on over there. The other warriors did not dare to follow them anymore. Under the scorching power of the sun, even some third sky of the Earth Realm warriors could not stand the heat and stopped far away. The reason that the four people of Cao Zilan, Jiyu Linglong, Chu Yangqing, and Pan Zhe dared to come closer was that they were the outstanding future masters in the Endless Sea. Not only had they cultivated the special martial techniques, but they also had many secret treasures. Thanks to those secret treasures and the mystery martial spirit, they were able to stand the heat at the distance of 500 meters from the sun-refined spirit. However, even though they had brought some treasure weapons, they could only watch from a distance of 500 meters because their bodies had not been tempered by the heaven flames. Shi Yang, on the contrary, could stand in the distance of 100 meters from the sun-refined spirit and be not worried to be burnt by the sun-refined flame even without the support of the ice-cold flame's icy power. I cannot open my eyes. Jiu Ling Long screamed out loud in fear. What is that place after all? It was like a small dazzling sun. I can't see anything, don't dare to look either. Don't open your eyes. Cao Zilan couldn't help shouting. This can only be the sun-refined spirit. The sun-refined spirit in the center of the sun. Ordinary eyes will be blind if looking at that sunlight. The sun-refined spirit. Panja panicked. If the three god sects people come here, will they be crazily excited to see the sun-refined spirit? Regretfully, the three gods sect is busy fighting with the dark dwellers right now. They didn't join us to fight with the Yang family this time. This is their mistake. If the three god sect's warriors came here with their sun martial spirits, and they found out the sun-refined spirit here, their sun martial spirits would have reached to the terrifying level. Chu Yangqing slowly closed her eyes, being unable to stand the heat anymore. Cao Zilan did not utter a word. She just silently released her spirit god martial spirit, wanting to explore the situation over there. However, as soon as she released her spirit god martial spirit, she immediately realized that the sun-refined spirit launched a strong flow of soul vibration, forming a great soul attack chasing Cao Zilan's spirit god martial spirit and going into her head. P2E. Cao Zilan could help but spit a mouthful blood. Her beautiful body strenuously moved backward a few steps. She shouted with her red face, "Do not release any spiritual power. There is something strange inside the sun-refined spirit." P2E. P2E. Panja and Jiu Ling Long also spat out a mouthful blood, staggeringly stepped backward with clumsy faces. Chu Yangqing was panic, retreating her power timely. Just 1 second late, Panja and Jiu Ling Long already got severely injured. As soon as they had released the spiritual forces, the strange thing inside the sun-refined spirit had instantly attacked them. Be careful. Do not release any of your spiritual powers at all cost. Do not continuously open your eyes. Only peep at it and immediately close your eyes to avoid being blinded by the sunlight. Cao Zilan hastened to remind them. Not good. Chu Yangqing screamed out all of a sudden. What happens? Panja quickly asked. Yang is coming. Chu Yangqing stepped backward with fear. His body is full of burning fires as well as some strange icy power. What did happen after all? What? Cao Zilan was terrified. She couldn't help but open her eyes. In their sight, the dazzling sunlight shone on a powerful and imposing figure who were quickly approaching them. That figure's body shot out 2 kinds of red burning fires and dark blue burning fires. The red burning fires were scalding while the dark blue burning fires were freezing. These 2 types of burning fires spread out all over the body, seeming still to be in a drastic fight. However, he looked very comfortable with those 2 kinds of fires around his body. He was dashing towards other people like lightning. His speed was getting faster and faster. Nobody knew why a bunch of these sun-refined flames seemed to be attracted to his body. Although he was lunging very quickly, these flames still closely followed him. The earth-shaking burning fire's power came up as if it had to burn the whole world into ashes. Until the moment that the 2 eyes were painful, Cao Zilan realized that she could not stand it anymore. She quickly turned around without hesitation, fleeing with the highest speed. Retreat. Panja had been waiting for her to say something, but he realized Cao Zilan had already disappeared in a blink. His handsome face slightly changed. He did not dare to say further and staggeringly followed Cao Zilan, trying to escape from this place. Chu Yangqing and Jiu Ling Long still wanted to stay and fight. However, as seeing Cao Zilan, who ranked at the top of the combat list, running away, they felt unsafe and also quickly followed he and Panja. Porch. At the same time, a 2-meter-long, half-meter-wide red sword like a burning flame suddenly flew out from inside the sun-refined spirit. There were full of ancient symbols on this giant glowing red sword. There was also a red eye on the blade. As soon as the sword flew out, the red eye quickly projected devilish red lights. A malicious spiritual vibration instantly spread out from the red sword. This brutal vibration was like a deadly tornado wiping out all the beings as if it wanted to deprive all of the being lives. That huge figure was crazily chasing after Cao Lan and Pan Zhe. When the sword spread out the malicious spiritual vibration, Shi Yang suddenly stopped, his eyes became bewildered. It was unknown when the blood vein ring on his finger had shot out the red light which matched the bloody color of the light radiating from the sword. They were surprisingly alike. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.